It's another beautiful day in podcast town. It's on Podcast Street, on Podcast Avenue. Nothing. Long work day for me, so I'm beat. But I'm here for the audience, and I'm here because I like to record.
Yep.
And I'm here for you, because I don't think you want to do this by yourself.
I've thought
about it. Yeah, I've thought about it. Like, what if I could always just do like little random just me recordings and just throw them up on the page, but I'd rather have somebody to talk to. Let's see. The week in gaming. I haven't really heard a lot of pressing news. People are still reeling over the announcements. People are still talking about Negan in Tekken 7, which I'm glad. I'm glad that the majority of what I'm hearing is, why is he here? So, but I'm also hearing, and there's nothing official yet that I can find, but the slow rumblings of the next generation of consoles, seems like about every week it's more and more. We know it's coming. We know the PlayStation 5's on the way, and the Xbox 2 and the Switch 2, whatever. It's on the way. But I treat it just like I treat games, man. I'm not really hard up for it. It's not something that's pressing. Just get it to us whenever. And it would be better for me if it blew my mind when it came out as opposed to how soon it comes out,
Yeah.
I don't really care which three brings it first, I just want it to be like something where we tap each other on the shoulder and go, hey, look at this. This is awesome. Instead of, oh, look, another graphical upgrade. Woohoo.
Yeah, but I don't know how much better we're going to get, as far as improvements. Really, we're not hurting for power now,
No. Everything looks good. Looks really good. There's lots of games today that you can look at and go, yeah, it's taxing on a system, and it looks beautiful. Yeah. Looking at you, God of War.
And I think the news is kind of slow because everybody's still playing WoW with its new expansion.
Oh, yeah, that is a piece of news that the new expansion finally dropped. And, yeah, it's good, man. It's always good when a MMO gets more stuff to do. On our side of the world, Adam, apparently, we saw a message from him today that he's being talked into going back, which, we discussed on the podcast as well. He's been itching. So yeah, cool. I hope all the new content's good. I hope good things for World of Warcrafters. That game's been running since 2004, I think.
Sounds about right. It was pretty close to 11.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is a stellar system right there. So yeah, nothing really news related I can think of. I guess we can just roll into weeks then. Shoot, roll into mine because I've had a fairly interesting week. Not that it matters. I'm sure you had an interesting week too. We try to take turns on Timecast, but it doesn't really fucking matter. So personal life stuff. I haven't really seen any movies. I've been, what's a legal way I can say this, Chris? Let's just say I've been on a downloading spree lately.
Okay.
I've been acquiring some shit that's potentially going away from the internet. For those that have listened to the last couple episodes of our podcast and follow the news of video gaming in this time frame, this August 2018 time frame, I'm sure you understand. It's probably not that big a deal. We're talking about emulation, by the way, folks. Come on, let's not beat around the bush here. It's probably not going away. You're going to be able to get this shit some way, somehow. It's like a fucking domino effect, man. I'm seeing site after site after site taken down or just flat out going down and writing these long, hey, we've been dealing with this for a long time, but now that it's really getting bad, so we're backing out. Hope it's been fun while it's lasted. So, yeah. I've been trying to wade through the pond as best as I can. Personal life stuff. I did, so let me take you on a trip, Chris. A trip called me getting contacts. Oh my God. So roughly I'd say about 8-9 years ago, I decided, all right, well, if I'm not going to get LASIK or laser surgery, I'm going to get contacts because everybody around me has them. And I've been wearing contacts since I was 6 years old. I mean, glasses since I was 6 years old. Let's try this upgrade. Let's see what the hubbub's like. Let's see what it's like to be able to see damn near 20/20 and not have glasses on. A little rough for me in my eyes because not horrible. The paperwork and the doctors say it's horrible, but I can still see, so whatever. I have stigmatism in my left eye, pretty bad, and I've got a little teeny bit of it in my right eye as well. For those in the audience that are blessed to not have to wear glasses and you don't understand what that is or don't know what that is, that's kind of mean to say. Stigmatism is basically a malformation of your iris. Instead of having a perfect circle or a circle, you have basically an oval shape or a football shape or some weird shape. And that odd shape makes it really hard for your eye. Welcome to the iCast, by the way. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the end of time. I'm Michael.
I'm Chris.
And this is the iCast. So yeah, basically your eyes have to focus all the time. For the best way that I've explained it to people is that, okay, you know how on your TV you have a sharpness knob or a sharpness meter or whatever. Turn that sharpness all the way as far as it can go. You see how your picture is very crisp and very, like, you can see the edges and you can see the details very well. Take that slider and put it to about 70, 75. You notice how everything got a little bit blurrier? That's what living with stigmatism is like. That's what I walk around with when I don't have my glasses on. Everything is just a little bit fuzzy, a little bit blurry. I can still see pretty well. I mean, I can drive. I can fucking function without wearing glasses. I'm not blind. But when I wear my glasses, everything's in focus. That's the whole point of having glasses on. So I went to go get contacts about 8 years ago, and I already knew, I was told, but I already knew it was going to be a stronger prescription, just like my glasses are, because I have stigmatism. I said, okay, which means they're going to be more expensive as well. Mm-hmm. It's not too bad of a system, man. You go in, you get an eye exam like normal. They do a separate eye-like measurement, basically to measure your eye, so when they ship you a contact, it will fit your eye. It will conform to your eye properly. And that's it. They order you some contacts, or maybe they'll have some on hand, like a trial pair on hand, and then you wear them. And if you like them, you buy more of them, and there you go. You're now a contact wearer. So this was a bad experience for me about 8 years ago, and the reason why is I apparently have really strong eyelids. Number one. I have really long eyelashes, number two, and the general shape, because I've gone my whole life basically squinting my whole life. Yeah, I know, it's a riot, man. My eyes they look smaller, basically. They're not, but that's just, my eyes have grown that way. My eyelids have grown to where I look like I'm squinting all the time. And I have to squint to focus.
Sure.
This has led to a huge problem for me because, so the first time 8 years ago, went to go get contacts, did the prescription, did the exam. They ordered me some trials because they didn't have my prescription in. Of course they did. My eyes are horrible. I got the trial pair in, and the lady's like, look, you're going to come in, you're going to sit with me for about 10 minutes tops. I'm just going to show you how to put them in. But I rarely have to show anybody. Anybody can see how to put them in. You put them on your finger and you suck them to your eyeball. You just physically push them on your eyeball. Simple. You're going to be in and out, no problem. I said, all right, cool. So I went up there and we sat down, broke open the contacts, washed my hands, poured the solution in, rinse them around, and she's like, yeah, you just put them on the tip of your index finger, and you use one finger to pull your top eyelid up and another finger to pull your bottom lid down, and you just bring the contact up to your eye and push it on. You can actually feel it / kind of hear it when it goes as it suctions on. I'm like, all right, cool, easy peasy. 40 minutes later, I do not have one motherfucking contact in my eye. I cannot get contacts in. It is a legitimate, actual fucking hassle for me to put contacts in. Now, that combined with everybody around me in personal life, coworkers, friends, family, just people who I talk to that do wear contacts are like, yeah, man, it's real simple. Here's the trick that I do. You know, it works all the time. Doesn't work. I talk to another person. Yeah, man, I do mine with one hand. Here's how I do it. Doesn't work. Everybody around me, everybody, this shit is easy. Like it's nothing to it. It's like breathing for people to put contacts in. And even the people that tell me they have a rough time putting it in at the beginning, like, you know, after about a couple weeks to a month, they're like, yeah, I'm just so used to it. Now it's nothing. Well, I got these contacts in again 8 years ago. And I think I had like 6 pairs. And dude, I was breaking all kind of rules to wear these. Like you're not supposed to wear them overnight. I was wearing them overnight because I could not afford to waste over an hour every morning, damn near an hour and a half every morning putting these in. That was really the only rule. I think I was pretty good about I think they only depending on what contact type you get, you can only wear them for like a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time or something like that. I was pretty good about the timeline, but like the overnight thing, fuck no. I just left them in, and I didn't have any problems, fortunately. And every time that I did take these contacts out, like I specifically remember I was at tech school for the Air Force, and I remember getting up mornings, taking a shower, getting my dress blue uniform on. All right. I gotta be in my car because it's like a 2-minute drive. I gotta leave this room in like 15 minutes. And 20 minutes later, I'm like, fuck it. I can't even get one in. I can't even get one contact in. I'll just fucking wear glasses today. So fast forward to a couple days ago, wife's got some pretty good insurance. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll try this again. I am getting tired of wearing glasses. Though arguably it is much fucking easier. I mean, you just put the glasses on your face. Easy peasy. But I figured, what the hell? It's been a while. Maybe my eyes have been, I don't know, maybe they've changed a little bit. Maybe they've grown. Maybe life has made them more worn. I don't know. So I got a prescription, got an eye exam done, got the measurement done, and this time they actually had some on hand. They don't exactly match my prescription, but they're pretty close. And I'm telling you, Chris, as I was walking into that room, I was like, ma'am, I'm going to tell you right now, we're probably going to be here for a minute. And I gave her a quick little rundown of the story. She was like, oh, it's okay. You know, the nurse, the basically her aide, her nurse, not a nurse, but she's like an aide or whatever. She's like, she's here to help. She'll give you all the tips. And I'm like, man, you don't even know. Like I have gotten advice from no less than 50 in-person people. And I've watched, I don't know how many contact videos, anywhere from 2 minutes to 20 minutes of tips, tricks. Hey man, this is what worked for me. Hey, this is the hand that I use. This is the distance that I am from a mirror. This is a like look to the left, put it on trick. I've heard all kind of shit. I'm like, all right, man, I'm just telling you. I mean, I'm going to try to put them in, but I'm probably going to be here for a minute. And it took me damn near 20 minutes to get both contacts in. My eyes are fucking super red. There's snot running out of my nose. I look like I've been fucking crying, but I'm not. It's just you're fucking with your eyes so much, your sinuses get fucked up. So I have a pair in right now. It's a trial pair. They have my actual prescription pair on order, and they'll be in soon. And when those come in, I will see a little bit better, but I'm having to really deal with like, all right, man, if I want contacts, I'm going to have to fucking do this. Like I need to try to get better, need to get better at taking them out and putting them in. Maybe that will help, but it's good. Okay. The positive of it is not having glasses on my face and just looking around life and not having that frame in my vision, not having that obscurity there, just damn near seeing 20/20 just by looking around. That is cool as shit. That is something that I've never got to experience since I was 6 years old. And it is nice. It is comforting. I don't have to worry about glasses scratching or dropping or none of that. I have to worry about other things like, stuff getting under my contact or my contact rolling up into my eye, which I know this is rare shit. It's not going to happen, but the positives would outweigh the negatives for me if it wasn't the fact that it takes damn near an hour for me to get contacts. You got to think about that, Chris. That's me sitting in front of a mirror and almost a minute every time, every attempt going, all right, put it on my finger. Got to set it just right. Okay, it's not going to fall if it's there. Not too much solution on my finger. I can roll my finger. Okay, it's not moving. All right. We'll pull this eyelid up. And my eyelid's like, nah, bro, I'm not moving. I'm like, come on. So I got to dig my finger underneath my eyelash into my eye. My eye's like, ugh! And then I do it to the other eyelid. And my other eyelid's like, I'm just as bad. I'm going to stay closed, man. And then I'm watching and I'm trying and I push it up to my eye and the contact falls off or it rolls up or it's stuck. Mm-hmm. It's just stuck underneath my eyelid for an hour.
Yeah, I'm supposed to wear glasses, but I haven't had a pair in probably close to 10 years now.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wear contacts. I can't stand water in my eyes. Having something like that in it, I wouldn't even be able to. I wouldn't be able to deal with it.
And I feel like such a dumbass explaining to people why. They're like, I don't understand why it's a problem. Like, look, I know I'm a fucking leper. I get it. But here's the thing and back me up on this, Chris. Here's the thing about eyes. Your eyes have eyelashes on them for a purpose. Your eyelashes are there that when something goes in your eyes close. Your eyes go, no, there's something. I'm going to give you a little bit of pain. I'm going to give you a little bit of sensation. And I'm not opening because there is a foreign object coming in here. And apparently my eyes are fucking General Patton level of DEFCON 5. Fuck no, you're not getting in.
Yeah.
I've physically seen all kind of people, again, in real life, in front of me. Just like they'll take one finger and they'll take their middle finger and pull their bottom eyelid down and just push the eye contact in. They're like, look, it's nothing. Like that took me like 5 seconds. I'm like, it's good. I'm happy for you. But for me, it is a genuine hassle. Another solution obviously would be, okay, we'll just get LASIK or laser or LASIK or, whatever 20 different variations are. The laser and LASIK shit has improved over years. Thankfully, when I looked into it first back in, I don't know, 2005, 6, somewhere in that time frame, it's either that they couldn't do laser on stigmatism or it wasn't like really recommended. Like it didn't do good enough, or you had to come back and get it every 3 years or some shit like that. They have so many different variations now. There's different ways you can physically get it done. They can do it on stigmatism, and it is supposed to last longer than it used to, like a decade or more. Mm-hmm. For me, it's like anybody else, man. It's funding. The insurance I have doesn't really cover it, and I don't really have the money for it, and yada, yada, yada. So at the end of the day, I'd like to get LASIK sometime in the future. My eyes are well past the point of growing. My prescriptions haven't really changed too much. I'm going to stick it out, man. I'm going to muscle through this fucking contact ordeal. I'm going to wear them as long as I can. The last time that I did this, after my prescription ran out, I just didn't re-up. That's all it was to it. That's probably what's going to happen this time, unless I can just get better or muscle through it. And if all else fails, I'll just go back to wearing glasses, man. I'm 36 years old. It's not that big a deal. It is nice, again, just having them in. I will give you that, but the hassle is it's really making it a personal struggle of whether I want to continue to do it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So that's my that is the End of Time Cast eye story for me today. Let's see. No movies. Already said that. Nothing like life wise I can think of. Game wise. So last we left off in my world, I was working on, I think I was working on Wild Arms 2, and I just kind of fell off it. Yeah, I just kind of fell off of it. Again, not a harsh way. I just, just started to not really care about it. started going through my turmoil again of don't really know what to play. I picked up, I made a couple more levels into Shinobi for the PlayStation 2 because again, I've never beat that game, but I am enjoying it. It's pretty good combat for a PlayStation 2 era game. Couple Steam games here and there. I did go back through the Pharaoh Rebirth game. That's a Steam game I've talked about a couple times. Metroidvania, the Metroidvania part of it's kind of optional. I kind of went back through some of the levels once I had pretty much all the upgrades for my character and got some things, collected some things. Beat the game, and a couple new levels opened up, so I went through those as well. But again, I would have to go back into my Steam list and look and actually see how much I physically paid for this game. But I can tell you now, for a Metroidvania style game, it's definitely worth it. I've gotten play out of it. It was definitely not a regret. It's a good game. I enjoyed it. Finished that, played Shinobi for a little bit. Actually put a level or two into Doom 2016, which I was really hard. It doesn't take much for me to want to play Doom. All I got to hear is some Killer Instinct music or anything by Mick Gordon. I'm like, I'm going to go play some Doom right fucking now. But I really think I'm holding off on running all the way through that game mentally, because the Doom, I don't want to cheat. I don't feel like looking it up. There's a sequel coming out. I think it comes out December of this year. And I'm probably going to go through Doom. Oh, Doom Eternal, I think is what it's going to be called. Yeah. I'm planning on going through Doom at a higher difficulty, not for a fucking dick waving contest, just because I'd like a little bit more difficulty in Doom. I ran through the first one pretty much. I'd like to go through Doom one more time before that game comes out, so I may push that a little ways down the road. I put a couple levels into Doom, had a great time, and it's like, okay, I'm just not feeling that. Again, that's the turmoil that I go through. It's not that I don't like a game, it's just not feeling it. Tried a couple other random Steam games, a couple other random PlayStation 2 games. And as of right now, the game that I have settled on is Persona 4.
Okay.
So, for those that were here for the last episode, you can quote him. You remember Chris saying that he demanded that I play Persona 4 so I could tell him how I feel about it. I believe his words were, go play this game, you dirty son of a bitch, so you can tell me if it's good or not. I think that was exact quote. So I did just that. I don't even know what bug got up my ass. Just randomly decided, why not? If I don't like it, I can stop, and maybe I'll go try 3 and compare the two. So, spoiler free, of course. There's no spoilers in here, not only for the audience, but for you as well. I can tell you right now, the biggest takeaway, if you are listening to this podcast right now, this is episode 50-something, 54, August 2018, and you have not played Persona 5, you need to go play that game. Okay? This is aside from Persona 5, from Persona 4. Persona 5 is a game you need to play. If you are a halfway interested RPG person, if you played Mass Effect and you liked the story aspect of Mass Effect, you will like Persona 5. It's going to give you a whole different type of RPG feel and a whole different story. If you are a RPG person, whether you're interested in JRPGs or not, if you like RPGs, you need to go play Persona 5. Okay? So that's for the not played Persona 5 people. If you are listening to this episode right now, and Persona 5 was the first, or maybe, albeit like me, the only Persona you've ever played, that's good. That's glad you played that one. If you go back and play Persona 4, you're going to feel right at home. That is the biggest takeaway I've had so far in my probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 hours. A lot of things that I went through, saw, heard, read, the motions that I went through in Persona 5, you're going to get those. I've been getting those in Persona 4. Now, albeit this is 2 generations apart. Persona 5 is going to be on, I think Persona 5 had a PS3 release. I could be wrong.
No,
I don't know.
I don't think so.
It might just, well, if that's the case, generally people are going to play it on the PS4, period. But from PS4 to PS3 that I'm aware of, there is no Persona. There's no numbered Persona. Yeah, but I think, Chris, you and me could agree that if Persona 5 was not a graphic intensive game, you know,
no,
it's not something. It was very high definition and it had a very stylized format, but it wasn't trying to be ultra realistic. So to me, I would think playing it on the PlayStation 3 or the 4, you're gonna get a good experience.
Agreed.
Generally, people have played Persona 5 on PS5. A PS4. That's, I'm trying for the console that does not exist yet. So yeah, you've got 2 generations between. You've got Persona 5 on PlayStation 4. You've got Persona 4 on PlayStation 2. So the graphics are going to be downgraded. It's not so much just that the graphics are downgraded, it's that the style is different. The character designs in Persona 5 are very anime/cartoonish, where the designs for characters in Persona 4 are slightly, they're anime, but they're like proportionate. They have bigger heads. It's a little bit bigger heads. That's about the only difference. It's hard for me to explain the difference between the two. You really get when you see the characters moving and walking in Persona 5, you definitely get an anime cartoon feel. In Persona 4, it's more like video game characters. You know, they look video gamey. Best way I can put it. But everything, including the characters around that, it's all Persona. It's all the Persona that you're going to know from Persona 5. They have catchy music all over the place, which, Chris, you know that I'm big on music. Yeah. There's every other track, almost every track in Persona 5 I loved. All of them were catchy, all of them were upbeat, all of them fit thematically, and I love the music in Persona 5. Same way in Persona 4. It all has that catchiness to it. It's all that pseudo slight pop, but laid back mellow music. The music fits. The way the menus and the battles, the battle menus and the in-game, all the menu layouts, while they look different, they feel like what you remember from Persona 5. They have that layout, that stylistic look to them. The ways that you get weapons, the way that you buy items, the way you traverse towns and talk to people, social links, acquiring personas, the way your battle works, the way that you do have like a just all out attack if you want to just, you know, put the controller down, let the fights happen on their own. So much of Persona feels like Persona 5, and to me, that's a big plus so far. It's a big plus.
Yeah. Because
I've heard from people, again, you should always play your own games and get your own opinions. This is another example of that. But I've heard a lot of people say that, you know, obviously, it's 2 generations back, but Persona 5 is a step down for Persona 4, and it takes a while to get used to. For me, so far, it really hasn't. Again, a lot of these things are different, but they're more like the style is different. The idea for them are still pretty much the same. The one thing that I haven't really got into yet, because I am in the first dungeon / what we know as palaces, and I haven't beat it yet. I haven't gone out of it too much, and I haven't gone to the Velvet Room. I don't even think I went to the Velvet Room yet. So the I think a complaint I've heard of, or a big difference between Persona 4 and Persona 5, Persona 5 made an upgrade in regards to your personas actually learning skills. Apparently it makes it really easy. And Persona 4, it's more like you have to, I'm talking out of my ass, and I haven't done it, but I've heard it's more like you have to merge personas and you kind of have to hope that the abilities transfer over. It seems like, from what I've heard, the skills and acquiring skills systems in Persona 4 is a little bit more cumbersome. I don't know. Haven't had to deal with that yet. Let's see.
So
what can I talk about?
How are you playing it? Are you playing it on PS3?
I'm playing it on the PS2.
Oh, okay.
Wink, wink.
Ah, gotcha.
SX2. Yeah.
Gotcha. So I just looked it up, and they actually have where you can download it for. Wait, the thing I saw said PS3.
There's a Persona 4 Golden, which I believe is a HD or a upgraded version for the PlayStation 3. I don't have that one. I'm just playing the good old PlayStation 2 version. I'm trying to think of specific things I can talk about, but that's the biggest takeaway that I wanted to explain to you and the audience as a whole as well, is that from the start of the game, like, that was the main feeling I had in my mind and in my heart. The first couple hours of playing this game is like, a lot of this is familiar. You know, a lot of this, I remember doing stuff like this or pretty much close to this or exactly like this in Persona 5. It's not a weird, way out there departure, which I thought that's what Persona 5 was. Again, having no knowledge of the series, I thought Persona 5 was such an outlier. No, apparently this is how Persona games are. Now, that could be just that these are how Persona games are, because there are Shin Megami Tensei games like Digital Devil Saga. Never played any of those, but maybe I'll try them out. I'm having a good time so far. It's just so much of it feels at home. I mean, it's almost the first bit of this game is almost beat for beat like Persona. For you and for anybody else that decides to take me up on this offer of, hey, go play it and see for yourself, you'll understand what I mean, especially coming from Persona 5. Without spoiling things, as events come up or as things happen or as you learn how to do things, you're like, yes, this is pretty much how Persona 5 was. And it is, but it's another story. It's a whole different story.
Apparently, there's some talk about there being a remaster on PS4 coming.
Persona 4? Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I will say this, if this game continues to keep my interest, this is another good thing about it, and this is very specific to me and you. I don't know. I mean, maybe if somebody else is going through this right now, cool, but Chris and I both have been tossing up the idea of just going back through Persona 5 anyway, because it's just that good. I'm totally down for putting another 200 or 300 hours into that game. No problem, because it's that fun. I'm getting that fix now through Persona 4. So I'm not seeing the same exact thing, but I'm almost getting the exact same feel. And that's good for me, you know. And if Persona 4 continues to carry my interest, because you know me, I could fucking lose interest in an RPG tomorrow and go want to play fucking Mario Party, who knows. Mm-hmm. But if this game keeps my interest and I go all the way through, maybe not immediately, but I do foresee myself at least going back and trying Persona 3. I don't know about 2 and 1. Those may be like way, way off and way different, but yeah, I'll be willing to give 3 a try, you know. But yeah, it's really hard to go into specifics because I don't want to spoil anything, especially for Chris. And I mean, this is kind of like Breath of the Wild. There are so many experiences in that game. I don't want to ruin them for anything. Just, again, for the 5th time, just to beat a dead horse, if you've played Persona 5 and you've never played Persona 4, it'll do you good to go back and play it, and you're going to feel right at home. That's the big feeling, the big takeaway feeling. It's like, man, all this is it's so familiar. It's a little bit of a step down. Yeah, it's a little bit of a change because, you know, the controls are maybe a little different. Not even that. A lot of the controls, like the battle menu, yeah, it's almost the same, you know, laid out a little different, but it's all there. There are a lot of allowances that Persona 5 had that Persona 4 doesn't, like the ability to just have your extra character tell you, okay, this thing is weak to this. You just press this button and I'll swap in that persona or that character right now. You know, those things are missing, but you can still analyze an enemy and it will still tell you, yeah, this enemy, remember you fought them, they're weak to fire. And you can go switch in your persona that has fire ability and then use fire, and then bam, it's weak and it gets knocked down. And then you attack it again. Like, stuff like that There's a couple extra steps in there, but it's all there. It's mostly all there. And I'm enjoying it. The story itself, way different story than Persona 5 so far, which is good. You know, you want that. This one so far is more like, I don't know refresh my memory, Chris. Was Persona 5 a murder mystery at the beginning, or was it just, I think with Kamoshida it was just bad shit was happening. I don't think Kamoshida had killed anybody. I think there was just like, hey, we think people are getting abused and we think he's doing it. Yeah. This one kicks the door open with murder mystery. And then more shit piles on top of it. More murder mystery stuff piles on top of it. And then the Persona stuff gets involved and all that. So if you like murder mysteries and you like Persona 5, this is going to be up your alley. That's pretty much been the main game I've been playing, and really the only game I've been playing for the past few days. I try to sprinkle in some other games here and there. Like I'll try to play a little bit of Shinobi here and there. I'll try to play a couple random levels of a random Steam game. But predominantly my time's been taken up by Persona 4, and so far it's doing good. It's doing good. I think that's it for my week, Chris.
All right.
I hope you've had a week, man, because we want to hear about it.
Yeah. I too have had some long work days, but I think I'm over that hump. At least since I'll have to go out of town for work at some point, but who knows when that's going to happen. We had dates and then they were pushed back, so we'll see. I got a variety of games this week, changing it up. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start out with Destiny 2.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think of so last week when we recorded, I hadn't done anything with the Solstice yet, I don't think. Or I started it, but I didn't know what all was a part of it. I'm now most of the way through the Solstice armor with my Hunter. I was talking about how I was going to do stuff on all three characters. It's only the Solstice armor. It's not the Triumph. There's nothing Triumph related for them. Other than to do Solstice on all three. So it's not as bad as I thought. And the Solstice armor isn't terrible. It wasn't really difficult to do. There were some time-consuming parts and some parts that really were really grindy. Like not good grindy. But I managed to power through, trying to do other things at the same time to make it not as bad. Because you have to, with the first tier of the armor, it's mostly about gathering orbs of certain elements. And to get that element, you have to be, you basically use the class that matches, or the sub-class, which isn't a big deal. But then there are ones where it was like, get them in strikes, and I was having very, very bad luck getting them in strikes. Not sure why. It didn't make sense, really, because if you're using the subclass, that's just supposed to flat out give it to you in general. But then if you're using a secondary or heavy that has the element, you have a even better chance of getting it with that weapon. I didn't know at first that using your primary weapon, which doesn't have elements in Destiny 2, that actually will give you the element of your subclass. So I had avoided using my primary for hours, and that may have been what helped me out. But I don't know. I don't think it made that much of a difference. I wasn't really killing that much slower. I just don't know if there's something related to the weapons themselves. Whether or not, my assault rifle, something about it made it lower odds or whatever than a scout rifle. I did a lot of scout rifles too on some of the other stuff. The going through things under leveled was really rough. I talked about how difficult the missions were for that first tier because of how underleveled I was. Mm-hmm. The second tier has harder versions of the levels, and they were even worse. But I pushed through those. They were I won't say the worst. They were probably just as bad, but I pushed through those. And then once you get past those missions, it's really not a whole lot to it when it's all said and done. So I have the 400 power level of it, the third tier of it now. And I've got One Piece Masterworked, which these have harder things to do, but it's not really that difficult, even though they're harder. Because like one of the pieces is to do the 2 raid layers. I think that's right. Which I need to do anyway for a Triumph. So I'm going to do them, and I'll have this. There's one for doing the raid, I think. Or that just might be the Triumph. There's one for doing strikes with a clan member, and I'm trying to coordinate that with my clan I'm a member of. Maybe do tonight or tomorrow. So they're not difficult things to do. It just takes some coordination, and most of them actually take other people. Which is what it is. It's a multiplayer game, essentially an MMO, so you shouldn't be surprised. But it is what it is. Something that... So Iron Banner's this week, and I didn't know that until I loaded it up earlier. Or when I loaded the subreddit up to see stuff about the daily or weekly resets. And I saw a thread about Iron Banner, and I was like, oh, it's Iron Banner. Loaded up. Yep, sure enough. This Iron Banner, they are doing some mechanic changes to Iron Banner and things that are going to be changing. I don't know how widespread across PvP, but like Iron Banner 6v6, which isn't anything new. They kind of did that before, where the normal game modes are 4v4 now. Iron Banner 6v6, nothing new, but they are supposedly, I think, going back to 6v6 in certain game modes, or maybe just in the casual game playlist. But it's control, which I think Iron Banner is always going to be control now, or this one is because they're testing new control mechanics. Now, normally in control, there are 3 zones you can capture. The more zones you control, the more points you get for your kills.
Yeah.
If you control all 3 zones, you get what's called a power play, which is, the most points you can get. You control all 3. Yeah, cool beans. What they changed now is that if a team controls all 3, the zones are locked, meaning nobody can recapture them.
Oh.
They're locked for, I want to say, 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So for those 20 seconds, the team that got the power play is going to get, I believe it's triple points for every kill, while the other team is forced at, single points.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the power play ends, all zones reset. When I read about this, I didn't think I would have any issue with it, and I don't know if I do still. My thing is, based on what I was reading, I have to go back and read patch notes because, of course, I didn't. But I think they did some matchmaking changes before, and it seemed to be working well, but I think they might have done something this week that made it screwy again. I need to go back and, actually look at my record for today. But I probably played 10 to 15 games of Iron Banner while I was waiting on you. And I think I lost every single one of them. Now, I'm not the best PvP player, but every single game, I'm pretty sure every single game, at least I looked at the thing on, I had over 1.0 KD. I was often top of my team. So something's not right there. I don't expect to win. If I go back to my stats, I have almost literally a 50% win-loss rate. I am almost perfectly balanced on wins versus losses. And my overall KD is like 1.3 to 1.5 depending on the game mode. Which, I'm not a terrible player. I'm not the best, but I'm not terrible. and that's KD is around 1.3. KDA is like 1.6 or something. I get a lot of team kills. Just for those that are going to go, oh, it's not really KD anymore because they add in assists, but whatever. I don't care. I like team aspect, team focus.
Yeah.
It's a team game, you know. Anyway, but I don't know. It just, and by the time, you know, your timing was great, by the way, with hopping on Discord. As soon as I saw your name pop up, I was flying into the match, so I couldn't back out anymore. And I, to this day, never left willingly match in Crucible. Destiny 1 or Destiny 2. If I start a match, I'm going to finish it. I can't stand quitters.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny with the matchmaking, too, because I had a game that was like 4v4. So there just weren't enough people or something, or the matchmaking couldn't find, you know, enough people at the same level. But it was a mess. And by the time I was that last game, I was like, all right, this is the last one. I have no motivation, you know. It's just...
Yeah.
And I'm not even doing it for anything right now. I can get 5 more ranks with Iron Banner. I think it's 3 now. I think I got 2 earlier. But like 3 more ranks and I get the ship, which is the highest reward you can get from it. It doesn't even do anything. And I was really only doing it for the milestone. And then I discover something else. So apparently milestones cap at 380 on the powerful engrams, which that's how most people hit max light level. I don't know if it's just because we're kind of in an interim before the next expansion, or what. But I got this Solstice armor. They're at 400. Actually 405 because of whatever I did. Up in the 4. Oh yeah, they're 400 and you can add the mods because they don't come with the mods. But they're at 405 technically. So my light level is at 396. I'm very close at max level. I go complete milestones and they all drop at 380. So it's like, can I literally not cap level without doing the raid now? Did they do this for the first time in the history of Destiny, force people to do the raid? Because in D1 it was Iron Banner would help boost you. In this one, powerful engrams were supposed to help boost you to the max. Now you can't do that. So
It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not happy about it. Realistically, when I get around to finally doing the raid and raid layers, I'm probably going to cap out in one day. Because I only need 3 weapon drops to hit max level, and that's not much. I imagine the raid, I want to say, has like 5+ drops. Raid layers do as well. So if I have 15 chances, or even if I have 10 chances of getting drops, odds are I'm going to get enough to hit max level when going through it. So I'm feeling really not motivated right now with the milestone thing, because it's like, all right, Iron Banner, I'm pretty much done for this season, you know, until they reset the season end of the month when the DLC comes out, or year 2 starts, I should say. But that's okay, because I can still do it to knock out my PvP milestone. Did that, didn't get a reward for it, essentially. So I'm like, all right, so what's my motivation here? I have the Moments of Triumph still to do, and the Solstice armor to finish maxing out. Okay, and I have to finish the, there's a set of weapons, there's a quest line for, and they're part of the Triumph, which is one of those things. It you can only do 3 a week. Didn't know that. So when I realized that last week, I was like right at that cusp of it literally not being possible for me to do before the DLC drops. So I have a fair amount of stuff to do. Aside from the raids and stuff, I have to go around and collect these data points. I have to do a bunch of strikes. So I have stuff to do, but I'm feeling very, very unmotivated to do any of it.
That's not good.
Nope. And it's killing me because, like I've said before, I've done every Year of Triumph thing. Destiny 1, Year 1, 2, and 3, I capped all of them, got all the rewards and stuff. I don't want this to be the first one I don't do, but it's finding really hard to get motivation.
Man, I feel you, man. And it's the same way with me. It depends on the game, but it could be the talk of the town, but I'll just quit because I just lose motivation. I just lose interest.
Yeah.
And a lot of reasons could lead up to it. It's usually a multitude of factors. It's rarely just, I'm just bored with it. It's usually, actual reasons, but I feel you, man.
Yeah.
If I can, I just remembered something else too. I'm so sorry. There was actually another game in my week that I also played, and I completely forgot to mention. I've done this before. Apparently, I'm going to do this every week. But, so I said that I played Wild Arms 2, kind of got bored with it. Another game that I did try immediately after was Wild Arms 3 for the PlayStation 2. And that's because I've heard tell that while Wild Arms has sequels, they're not exactly sequential. They have spiritual things in them that are the same. So I figured out what the hell. Maybe Wild Arms 3 is better. Maybe it'll offer me a different experience. And I made it through all the intros. It actually has 4 characters you start with in this one instead of 3. So that was different. Good different. There's more content. And then your 4 characters, come together and there's a mission to go off on. The story does seem interesting. The game seems pretty good, but I just got a random hair in my butt to go play Persona 4, and that captured me. So, there were a lot of carryovers from Wild Arms 2 to Wild Arms 3, like battle mechanics, how it handles items and stuff like that. And I did discover something that I may have to go back to Wild Arms 2 just to confirm. I could just look it up, but apparently one of the gripes I had about Wild Arms 2 was no item descriptions. I couldn't find item or magic descriptions. I just couldn't find descriptions.
Right.
It's like, how can you have a game like this? Like, how am I supposed to am I just supposed to guess that, that's a fire spell? Apparently, in some weird way, if you hold down a certain button, like I believe it's the square button over an item or a spell, the description will pop up, and then you can scroll through whatever, and you'll see the description. So I did figure that out. That was pretty cool, but a little weird to not have that just automatic.
Yeah.
But that's one very small, minor thing. The Wild Arms 3, a little bit better. Obviously, it's a generation up from PlayStation 1. It has a cel-shaded style graphics system. It's got an interesting story. I'll give you that. One thing that I remember from Wild Arms 1, I don't know. I feel so bad for this because I don't exactly know if this is my mind playing tricks on me or maybe I just didn't understand it all. But I vaguely remember Wild Arms 2's Wild Arms story going kind of crazy. Like really going to out there aliens and gods and I don't really remember the story of Wild Arms. I'll admit that right now. But I wasn't necessarily getting that vibe from Wild Arms 2, but some of the story in Wild Arms 2 was kind of sort of swaying to it's hard for me to say I'm not really getting it because I know it makes me feel like such a dumbass, but I just wasn't really vibing with the way the story was going.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't noticed that with Wild Arms 3. Wild Arms 3's story so far for the first 4 hours-ish, seems pretty straightforward. All 4 of the intro characters have their own story, their own motivation, and they go through explaining why these characters are here, etc., etc. And then when the story combines, you sort of get a good combination story, and it carries on. I don't see anything weird and wild and like so phantasmal yet. I'm hoping it won't be. But again, unfortunately for Wild Arms 2 and 3 right now, I have another game that's pressing. And depending on how long it takes me to go through Persona 5, it's probably going to bleed into the beginning of September. And then the beginning of September is Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4. So It may be some time before I get back those two. Just kind of want to mention that, yeah, I did play those. I don't dislike either one of those two. Like I would say, just to get your own feel, there's definitely a good reason to go through Wild Arms 2 and 3 for your own personal benefit. I think there are a total of 6 Wild Arms. There's 5 numbered, and then there's Alter F, which is basically a remake of the first one. Okay. And I think there's like a PSP kind of game, but like a tactics kind of game, but I'm not sure. Yeah. So maybe in the future I'll go through 4 and 5 as well. I don't know. It's up in the air. We'll see. Right now it's all Persona 4. Sorry, Chris. Just wanted to make sure I got that get that game mention out there.
It is all good. So after I think it was Sunday, I was playing D2 and got a little burned out on Destiny 2, and I can't remember what particularly on Destiny 2 I was doing, but it was one of those moments where I was like, all right, I'm done for the night. But it wasn't quite bedtime yet, so I needed something else to do. So I looked at my Steam library. There were a few games I bought on the Steam sale. I can speak, I swear.
You got it.
Yeah, eventually. And I was like, all right, I'll go, check out a couple of them, or one of them, whatever. The first one I picked up is a game called Guild of Dungeoneering.
Okay.
Now, the premise that kind of got me on this one, the reason I snatched it up, other than it was dirt cheap, I'm sure, because $15 not on sale. I think I got it for like $8 or something. Mm-hmm. The premise that got me on this is it says it's a turn-based dungeon crawler where you build the dungeon around the hero.
Okay.
Now, it's slightly misleading because you do control the hero. You don't control where they go in the dungeon you build around them, but once you're in combat and stuff, you control it. And the way combat works is it's actually a card-based, turn-based system. Your class determines which cards are in your deck, and you draw a default amount of 3 cards. Of course, there's a way to have more or less cards, but your default, you draw 3 cards, and then when it's your turn, every round, you pick a card. And that's what you do for that, So you attack, and it tells you, this card just straight up does 1 damage. No other effects. It's your basic 1 damage attack.
Okay.
This card does an attack and blocks a melee attack. This card, blocks a magic attack. And depending on their classes, and the purpose is kind of, this is off the D&D vibe for me. That's why I bought it,
Mm-hmm.
So there are classes, cool, and those determine the type. There are classes in the game that are really good, both offensively and defensively with melee attacks. So the first time I got a magic opponent, I was like, oh, I can't block anything now. That's not cool. In these little dungeons you build around your characters, there are items you can get to equip, and those will give you either a small positive boost or a decent positive boost, but also a negative effect. Like, there are cards that essentially lower your intelligence while giving you something else. Equipment that lower your intelligence while giving you something else. So I may get these, 2 cards that are pretty good attack cards, or combat cards, I should say, because some of them are good because they're offensive, some are good because they're defensive, but they're good cards to use. But the third one is basically herp derp, and you do nothing. So if you have a lot of those in your deck, if you have one, you just ignore that. You basically play with a 2-card draw. If you have multiples, you can have a turn where you have 2 or 3 herp derps, and you gotta decide. Do I herp derp or do I use my 1 card and hope I don't need it next turn and get something good to replace it? It's interesting. I played it for 2 hours. Don't have a burning desire to go back to it. The premise is okay. I think the balance is a little rough because, as far as I can tell, you can't go back and play a previous dungeon. So even though you build a dungeon around your character, you still have an objective. The basic ones are, kill X amount of creatures. Okay, no problem. And when it talks about building the dungeon, you put down, you have a what should I say? A bank of points, a quota of points and cards cost points to play on the map for building the dungeon. Essentially each turn on the dungeon map. So say you have 5 points, you can put down, or you have 3 points. You can put down 3 cards, or you can put down a terrain card, a monster, and loot. You could do one of each.
Gotcha.
If you already have the terrain tile there, you just drop your monster and loot, and you're done. You don't have to place. You technically don't have to place anything on a turn. So, but because you have these objectives, like I said, the first ones are typically in an area, just kill things. But then the second and or third one, based on what I've seen so far, are kill the boss. Okay. But I'm unlocking new classes as this goes. Your heroes level up. The equipment you get in a dungeon is gone afterwards. You don't carry that over.
Okay.
So and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because your levels are, a level gives you one more heart, which your health is defined in hearts. I think you start with 5 or 4. 5. Yeah, 5. So each level gives you a heart, which is really good in this type of game. The big thing for me is that every time I unlocked a class, I wanted to play it, try it out.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, if I can't replay the dungeons, I'll play the new areas I unlocked by beating the previous dungeon, because I think I beat the first one and you unlock like 3 more or something like that. I was like, okay, I'll just play the first level of each one. No problem on the first one, but then I ended up, my next 2 runs, my characters died. So I'm like, all right, it's not really balanced well for changing classes. I think it kind of wants you to pick one and go with it, but that's completely counter to the way you build essentially your guild hall.
Yeah.
Because the game's title is Guild of Dungeoneering, and that's what that's your guild. And you're building up your guild hall, you unlock a class, you add a building to your guild hall, and that unlocks the class for you. There are other ones you can add that unlock more loot drops, higher tier loot drops. There are ones that, I'm trying to think, they unlock something else. I don't even remember. I want to say abilities. I don't remember. The big ones were the drops and the classes. The classes are what I focused on. There's a trophy room that you get when you beat the first boss. So that's kind of cool. I will say the music part of this game was very amusing, because they actually they have the music in general. I can't really. It's kind of a D&D tavern-y type music, background music, I think. But when you get to any sort of quote unquote cutscene, which is basically just a block of text, you don't just have the text and whatever pictures next to it. You actually have essentially a bard strumming along, reading out the text in sort of song form.
Nice.
And
nice.
it was a really good touch, and it was really amusing because you read these things and, there's a play on words or a, like, I don't even know, like an insult to the, player / character in game, and the tone of the, bard singing matches that, and it'll trail off. It's like, oh, that type of trailing off, with the words. It's like, and he was an idiot. Oh, and, it's just amusing. Really well done on that part. But like I said, the gameplay feels a little bit off balance. So I only gave it a couple hours before I decided to move on to something else.
Yeah.
The next game I tried is called Another Brick in the Mall.
Another Brick in the Mall.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, surprise, surprise, this is a simulation game.
You play as a brick, and you're simulating life as a brick.
That'd be very boring. It'd be interesting to see how someone hold
on, man. I gotta log in real quick and check. Hold on, I gotta check my status real quick. Come on, loading screen. Yeah. Come on, yeah, no. All right, yeah. I'm still a brick. Yeah. No, I didn't move at all. No, I don't know.
Shit, it's
I got like
raining.
7,000. I got like 7,000 points though. Fuck yeah. What, for not moving? Of course. Duh. All right, I'm good. Let's go.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, yeah. So the premise of this game is you are managing a mall. You start out with X amount of money. You build. It kind of gives you a little tutorial thing, first to, hey, build this. Okay, go at it. It lets you set up your first little store. Shows you how to stock things, what you need to stock it and how to connect rooms and whatnot. And you kind of go from there. So I've put a few hours into this. I'm going to actually pull it up. I put, according to this, 7 hours. I don't think that's accurate, though. I think I had one instance where I was doing something else while I was running for a bit. So I'd say I have probably 5 hours in it. It feels like once you reach a certain point, there's not much reason to keep playing.
Yeah.
As with most simulation games, you have an end point, and not really, it doesn't end. That's not how simulation games typically work. But you have a point where, you've accomplished your objective. Your main goal may be, in a SimCity type game, get a certain population, maybe fill the map, something like that, which on the earlier SimCities wouldn't happen, but on like the latest one, it had a really small map. So it was, something achievable. In this, you're managing a mall and you can build different types of stores. You have, basically what you start out with is you're building a convenience store. You sell snacks and cookies and soda and cigarettes and all this stuff, not cigarettes starting out because you have to research it, but and unlock it. But you have these items you sell. You hire your staff to run your registers, and you hire your stockers to keep things stocked, janitors, etc. The whole kit and caboodle of staff. Yeah. Which is fine. I haven't had any issues with that. You pick the hours your store is open, the hours people work, so you can do things in shifts. It's pretty fun overall, but once my first store kind of got to the, I kind of bowled my way through the research. I hired 4 office workers and put them to working 12 hours a day. So it cut heavily into my profit every day, but I went to the research really fast, and I'm actually done with the research for everything I can research now.
Nice.
So I don't have any, which is, yeah, it's good in that sense. I don't have anything to worry about unlocking.
But takes away goals.
Yeah, so I did that. And I'm like, all right, I can expand my store and start selling more stuff. So I do that. And I have, a rack for every item I can sell now in my store. My store now contains things like clothes and tools and electronics now and jewelry. It's great. I'm making really good money. My profit's like $10,000 a day plus, which it kind of jumped because I was like, all right, I'm making $200 a day. I'm doing good. All right. 500. All right. 1,000. All right. And then I kind of had this, I completed some objectives in the game. There are these little goals it gives you, like have X amount of customers at once, or sell this many products, or have this much total sales over the lifetime of the store. And each time you complete one of those, it gives you money. I don't know if the earlier ones were 5,000, but they're all $10,000 right now for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a few of those, so I was able to expand my store. I expanded, added the other racks. Well, now I can meet pretty much all the demand for the items. So my profit jumped up several thousand, and it helped that I fired 2 of my office workers. But the single store now makes a ton of money. It's like, all right, well, there are more things to a mall than your typical store. And the quote-unquote ideal way to play the game is to actually set up, in some form or another, basically sub-stores, or specialty stores, I should say, like having a clothing store. If you have a store that sells only clothing, then it upgrades the tier of clothing. If you basically, there's 3 tiers to most items, I will say. I don't know if it's all. I know it's not all actually, but I don't know how many it is. But essentially, you unlock tier 2 of that item if the store is 50% or more that type of item. Like there are tiers of liquor. If the liquor is in a beverage store, meaning you can sell water, soda, everything else with it, milk, juice, then you get tier 2. Well, to get tier 3, you have to sell 50% or more of that item. So I set up a liquor store. I have 4 shelves of liquor, 1 shelf of beer or fridge of beer, and a shelf of wine. So it's a alcoholic's paradise. And it wasn't worth it at all. There's not enough. So I did that because there was a high demand for liquor. There's a whole finance demand system in the game. I checked the demands. Liquor was the number 1 demanded item. I was meeting the tier 1 goal and even most of the tier 2 with my normal store just because I had it in there. The tier 3 had a fairly high demand, so I built this store off to the side. But because of having to hire the employees to run it, excuse me, I got the hiccups. Because I have to pay the employees to run it, I was actually running in the red for a bit.
Those darn employees, man.
Yeah. Even though I was meeting demand, I wasn't even meeting demand. That's the thing. It's like I have these stores selling the stuff, but nobody's coming in here to buy it. And sure, part of it was because it wasn't 24 hours. You're going to miss some of the demand. I understand that. But I'm hitting peak hours. I eventually got to the point where my lines were too long on my register, so I had added a second register. So I had 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I met more of the demand, but basically not enough to make it worth it. My other store is sitting there making, $6,000 profit a day, while the liquor store is like $150 a day when it's all said and done after bills. Yeah. It's like it's not worth it at all. I'm going to check and see if this is It is early access. Okay. It certainly feels like
topical.
it. Yeah. I actually forgot to double check that. Guild of Dungeoneering's not. This game is. But it was also on sale. It's $13, not on sale. I think I got it for $5 or $6. So,
I feel like a lot. There are a ton of games out there right now, Steam related mainly, that will fit the bill for your simulation need. Like I remember there's a couple cooking games right now that everybody's talking about, and they all sort of, arcadey or not, they all do kind of dwindle down to real life shit. You know, like if you're gonna have this restaurant, if you're gonna have this mall, it's gonna have these real life things you have to think about. Yeah. So, I mean, hard to say. Like, do you think it's worth the money so far? Or
right now, not at full price. No. It's interesting if you just want to sandbox it, which you can totally do. There's an option, I guess, because this is early access. I don't know how it's going to be long term, but when you start the game, it says, okay, how much money do you want to start with? You know, do you want to disable certain things? Like, do you want to disable shoplifting and stuff like that? With shoplifting, I don't know how much it actually impacted me. There's a chart. There are a bunch of charts in the game, like, you know, your income and stuff, and there's one that shows theft. My theft wasn't ridiculous, but I hired a guard and put up some detectors at the door of my main store. It lowered a little bit. I didn't see any difference in income. Not sure how much of a difference it makes.
Yeah.
I mean, considering it's early access, you know, I'll see how it evolves over time. But like, yeah, I put in a restaurant, a fast food joint next to my store when people started complaining about being hungry. Okay, cool. But then people are still complaining, but not going there. So I guess they want an actual restaurant. But I don't want to spend the money to build this because the money to actually add on to the building is ridiculous. Like, for a decent size, it's going to be like $20,000, $30,000, which I mean, it's reality. It's not unrealistic.
Yeah.
But the amount of income you have to do that, I'm just now to the point where I can go, okay, I'm going to do this, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just not balanced well when it comes down to it. I spent all of my money and even took out a loan to build a bowling alley. I was like, all right, there's a demand for bowling. It just looks, I unlocked it. It looked interesting. So I was like, okay, I want to build a bowling alley. So I built it. One bowling lane cost $8,000.
Wow. So
you
built a bowling lane with one lane.
Yeah, I absolutely did. Absolutely did. I hired my person to work it. You know, they make roughly, it depends, you know, how many hours you work them, but I had it open for a while, for like 12 hours. So the poor lady made like $90 a day.
Wow.
And then there's another, all in all, to run it, I think it cost me like $120 to $150 at the peak to run it. Mm-hmm. And I made like $20. So I was negative over 100 on it. I'm like, okay, you know, fair enough. I only have one lane. Hours are going to suck. It's fine. Not a big deal. So I basically closed the bowling alley until I could afford to expand. And I added a second lane, and a third lane, actually, because I got some bonus cash. Like, all right, I got 3 lanes now. I'm going to open it up. All right. I'm then up to negative 20 profit a day, with it being open 12 hours a day, because only one person can use a lane at a time. So once you have 3 people in there and they bowl for like 3 hours, mad. Say, okay. So, you know, they didn't pay very much, but it's costing me almost, I want to actually look at the prices. I'm tempted to load the game up and look at it. I wonder if the cost of maintaining the bowling lane, because equipment has maintenance costs. Like an ATM has $1 a day fee of maintenance to run. Self-checkouts cost $10 a day to run. Stuff like that. I think, I want to say the bowling lanes they're probably only 1, but I think there might be 10 a day to manage. So if this one guy is bowling for 3 hours and he paid $20, then, and he's like one of 2 customers I get, it's barely covering the lane maintenance. So it needs a lot of balancing. Those things should make you more, even if they're unrealistic numbers, or the maintenance cost should go down, something like that to help balance it out. I think that people get paid okay. It's just the fact that not enough customers to make it worth paying them.
Did they have an option to do an arcade?
Oh yeah, I actually set one up because those it's like $1 per arcade machine maintenance, or even if it's $10, I don't care. But I put them. I originally had like 1 or 2. I put one in the bowling alley just so it'd show up on underneath the bowling alley's profit. People could go in and play it, but they only play when the place is open. So when I expanded my store, like I was talking about, I added upgraded storage. I built an area just for storage that was bigger, because the original one has you build it start, or I don't even think it tells you how big to build it. I just built a room with what I could afford, and it did its purpose. But with me expanding the shelves, I needed more storage, so I built a bigger room, and I turned the old storage room into an arcade room, and I put like 10 machines in there. I don't think I can even track how much it's making me because it falls outside of a store. So I'd have to do math with what I profit off the stores and then subtract it from my daily profit. But people go in there all the time. And it's funny because as the NPCs, as they get upset for being in line or something, their faces turn red, and then they eventually storm off and leave. People will be playing in the arcade and their faces will go red from getting annoyed at playing whatever they're playing. So it's great. There's so many small good things about the game. And the fact that it's an early access kind of saves it. It's totally understandable. But I'll check it out when I see updates drop. I don't know if I'll go back to it right now. I don't have that desire to build a huge mall that is just going to be more of what I have. If they improve the specialty stores and the non-store stuff, like the bowling alley, the movie theater is another one that's ridiculously expensive to do, and makes you almost no money. I'm trying to think of what else there is. Restaurant. You can have fine dining and fast food. There's a couple others, I think, but nothing really that interesting. You can do it's essentially a diner, but you can do like not fast food, but like a coffee shop type thing. But again, like the fast food isn't making me really any money. It's just taking care of itself and making people not leave because they're hungry. That's pretty much all it's doing. So yeah. So I was playing another Brick in the Mall kind of just to pass the time. And then a couple of days ago, I think it was actually yesterday, a game I was waiting on dropped called Graveyard Keeper.
All right.
So now, you know what Stardew Valley is?
Yes.
Okay. It's a farming game. This is similar, except for instead of farming food, you farm dead bodies. So you're a graveyard keeper. You have your opening cutscene, and then you wake up, and you are now the keeper of a graveyard. And you're supposed to help run the church that's on the graveyard too, which has its own little storyline thing to it. Every once in a while we get a body, and it's your job to do what you will with it and then go bury it. What you do to the body determines its quality, and when you bury it, you'll get benefits or negative effects depending on what you did, and your graveyard has a rating, which isn't really affect the game overall. It just affects the church part of it, the storyline, because like the first time it's like, okay, get up to essentially 5 stars, and that's your first objective, you know. So you have to get rid of broken tombstones and stuff, replace them or repair them. There's little frames around them, replace them, repair them, and then your quality will go up. And as it goes up, you unlock more story progression on that side. But there's a whole research tree, multiple research trees, I should say. I'm trying to think of how to put it. There are multiple research trees in the game used to unlock things. Like you start out, you can basically chop up bushes for sticks. But then you can chop down small trees for a log, and later on you can chop down 2 trees or a tree for 2 logs, rather. And, you know, you have that progression style. So there's crafting in it. There actually is farming in it. You can run your garden for food to give you energy, because it has a stamina-based system, similar to Stardew Valley. So you use your stamina and you go to sleep. You wake up, and then, you know, when you're out of stamina, you go to sleep. You can use food or drinks and stuff to give you more stamina. You have a lot of NPCs that want you to do things, as per, you know, typical RPG type games. And you have kind of your own objectives. You know, you want to increase the quality of your graveyard. You have a overarching storyline you're trying to accomplish. And I mean, I'm trying to think
it's got your attention. I mean, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, I've put, let's see, how much time did I put into it so far? I played for 5 hours yesterday.
Wow.
And I had seen a little bit of gameplay from this when it was in alpha months ago. So I had it on my wish list for when it came out, and it finally came out yesterday. So I put 5 hours into it, and I'm enjoying it. It's a good game. I am a little concerned that it's not going to hold my attention.
Yeah.
There are aspects of it that they don't feel good. In a game like this, there has to be a certain balance between energy, time, productivity, and objectives. The NPCs will often be like, hey, I want this, you know. That's pretty standard, you know, fetch quest, or actually, I think they're mostly fetch quest type thing. You know, go talk to this NPC, or go pick up this item, or bring this item to me, you know, or something like that. And that's kind of repetitive, and none of the storylines are super engaging. Even the main overarching story, I'm like, okay, kind of unnecessary. But, I mean, we'll see how it plays out, because I haven't made it super far in the story. So maybe it gets better. Maybe nobody cares, because these type of games, you typically don't care about the story.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to have a story worth caring about, why really have it? The good thing about it, like in comparison to Stardew Valley, is Stardew Valley, you have seasons and stuff, so you always feel that time pressure. And the day will actually end automatically when you run out of energy and stuff, and at a certain time. The way Graveyard Keeper works is you could stay up for a couple days straight if you want, because if you're not doing things that require energy, why go to sleep, you know?
Yeah.
Or if you have a deadline, you know, you can scarf down some bread and drink some beer and refill your energy that way. And go about your business. But you don't have that overall pressure. There's no seasons. There are days of the week. So if you have something that occurs, you have your 7 days, which annoyingly don't actually follow, you know, real world calendar day names. You only have symbols. Like,
I'm not a big fan of that, man.
Yeah. One's a sun, so fortunately it's Sunday. But another one's a moon, so you have Moon Day. But then you have some icon that looks like the Quake logo, which I didn't even realize until a streamer I was watching earlier said that. So you have essentially Quake Day. There's a male and female symbols for days. So it's like, okay, this is Ladies' Day, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I don't like the symbol system. Even if it was made up words, at least you had something to call it. But even in the dialogue, characters are like, yeah, come back on, and it shows a symbol. Like,
yeah.
Okay, at least tell me to come back on Moon Day or something,
Yeah. I'm in agreement with you, man. Like, it can work, I suppose, but, man, if you're going to base something around somewhat realistic timelines, just fucking make it like the timeline. Change the wording up a bit if you want to be unique or whatever, but don't make it a hassle for me to figure out what day is it? What what do you want me to do? When?
Yeah, kind of like how D&D with its months, the months have names. They're not normal, and they're, 30-day months across the board, but it still makes sense,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's actually names for the days of the week. I haven't looked that far. I just looked at the months because the days would be different because there are 10 days in a week. A month is 3 days of 10. Anyway, so back to Graveyard Keeper. So yeah, most things require energy for you to do. Cooking food, some of it costs energy, like if you're preparing something like you can slice up meat. That takes energy because you're, chopping with your knife or whatever. Makes sense.
Right.
And then you have bread baking in the oven that has a timer. And it's based on real time, not in-game time, which I think is something they changed. Because I'm pretty sure in the alpha, it was based on game time. So you put bread in the oven, you go to bed. When you wake up, hey, your bread's done. It magically ejected itself out of the oven while you're sleeping. Yeah, you'll walk back in your house after setting a bunch of food to cook, and then while you've been gone, you come back and there's bread all over the floor. You just walk up and pick it up. It's good. It's fine.
Magic.
10 loaves finish themselves one after another while you weren't home. Which, it's whatever. I don't really care about that
it's
part. It's the part that's a timer, which on the food, not a big deal. Like I said, you put it in, you go about your business, come back, and it's done. What I don't like so far, and I think this is what's killed part of my enjoyment of the game, is one of the first big bottlenecks in the game is iron. And there's smarter ways to do it than I did. I realized that after watching Co-Carnage play this morning. I was like, yeah, I probably should have bought, ingots instead of this. And yeah, I could have shaved off like 30 minutes to get to the point where I'm at. Not a big deal. It happens in games like this, playing it blind like that. Because I stopped watching essentially when he caught up to me. But the iron takes so long to make. It's like, and I don't know how, I want to say it's like 3 minutes per ingot or something like that. And iron is a resource you need a ton of. So I'm not sure if you're intended to have like more than one furnace going, because I think you can build more than one. But you don't really have the space for it. You can unlock more space by doing some other stuff that I've discovered. But starting out, it's like, okay, I need 4 iron ingots for an anvil. That's just one of the base items you create for your little house area, for your yard, I should say. Okay, I need 4 iron ingots. Okay, I put in 4 iron, which iron's easy to get. Ore is easy to get, no problem there. So I throw it in. I have to fuel the furnace, which fuel's annoying, but once I unlock coal, I know that's going to basically be a non-issue. It's just those, I'm using firewood to power my furnace. It's going to take a lot of wood. You're heating up metal. Okay, makes sense. But while those 4 ingots are going, what am I doing? I could go get more iron, but I already have like 50. I don't need more iron. I just need to make it into ingots. And that's just, it's been so brutal. I think it's probably it probably wouldn't be so bad if I had other things I was working on at the same time, but I'm not necessarily at that point. Like I said, I'm at a bottleneck. You know, I need iron to make iron parts, to make everything essentially. The iron parts are used to unlock all of these blocked off areas. There are things you need to craft. Pretty much any building, or I say building, any workstation or thing you can build in your yard after a certain point takes these metal parts. So, like I said, I'm at a bottleneck. I need ingots. I could go buy them, but this game doesn't give you much money to work with. This is a very low economy game, at this point anyway. I'm sure it'll pick up. And I'm sure there are ways I could, harvest items and sell, or make food and sell the food I make, or something like that to make money, but I'm trying to progress through the game. I'm trying to progress through the research tree, which is another thing that's got me annoyed right now. But this iron is just such a bottleneck. It feels way too much.
Do you feel you're getting to the point now where you're questioning whether you want to continue? Like, do you feel like you're not getting enough incentives to even want to go through all this hassle that it sounds like it is?
Yeah, I think there are a couple things that I'll want to do before I really make that decision to not play anymore. But it's certainly an issue. The other big issue I'm having with the game right now is, so the way your research works is you have points. You have 3 different types of points you can spend on research. They're color-coded. You have red, green, and blue. Red pertains to essentially manual labor, hard labor. You make something, you typically get red. You chop down a tree, you get red and green. You mine, you get typically red, I think. I don't know if you get any green from that. Green is related to nature. Like I said, you cut down a tree, you're going to get mostly red and maybe like 1 green. Excuse me. Hiccuping and burping. Can't stop.
It's not your day, man.
Yeah. So the green points are nature. You harvest some mushrooms, you're going to get only green for that. It makes sense. Now the third one are blue, and they are faith points. And they're related, or a spirit or mystic, whatever you want to call it, points. I got to the point where I had researched essentially everything I could without blue points. And so I went to each tree and I'm like, all right, there's a line of blue point requirements I can't meet. And I'm like, okay, I'm still progressing elsewhere. And there are things I need to do that will unlock stuff. I'm like, okay, once I unlock the church, I should start getting these points. It's like a logical progression point. Not a big deal. Nothing in the blue was super necessary at that time. It just would have been nice to have, kind of. And I have side quests that require me to unlock certain research to complete, stuff like that. So okay, I'll just complete the side quest later. So I unlocked the church. It has its own system. I get no blue points for anything I did at first. I'm like, okay. And by first, I mean at all. So I'm like, okay. The guy actually tells me he's going to give me something, and it will give me my first blue points. I'm like, okay, cool. I get to that point, I get this item, and I get points, and then I start getting them. I'm like, okay. So I get that item, or I complete that quest, then I'm like, where are my points? And I didn't realize for a while that I had a book in my inventory I had to use to get the points.
Oh, come on.
So I got 5 points from the item. Okay, cool, fine. I was like, all right, I need to be very careful, and I need to pick very carefully what I unlock my research, because I don't know how to get more blue points, and I need to unlock something that's going to help me get more blue points. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So I do that to unlock, it's essentially a desk. One of the trees relates to book writing or something, and apparently that has something to do with mystic and faith and, blue points. So I'm like, all right, I'll unlock this desk. So I do that. I go to build it. Of course, it takes a bunch of iron stuff. I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'll go sit and wait very impatiently for this forge to spit out a bunch of iron ingots. Did that, okay. Built a desk. All right, let me see what I can do. Because when you, in the research tree, when you hover over something like an item and unlocks, it says, okay, you can make this from, the carpenter's bench, the chopping block, or this. It tells you specifically which tools you need to make that item, which is great.
Yeah.
I love that. That is awesome. Tell me where to go to make this item. I will do what I need to make it at that point. So I'm like, all right, the desk is like, you can use the desk to make paper. I'm like, okay, cool. I build the desk, use all these, expensive and iron parts. Can't make paper on it. So I'm like, okay, I guess there's something else I need to do. But while I was doing that, there was another item, another piece of furniture for the church I needed to build, but I opted to not do it because I expected this other one to give me more blue points to make it faster,
Yeah.
So it's so frustrating. And I was watching Code play. There are, when you unlock the church, there are things in the basement you destroy and you get essentially random drops out of it. One of his drops was a book, which I haven't seen any of. That's what I'm actually trying to make to get started. Because you have a research table down there, and they take science points, which are different than any other point up to this point in the game. Didn't know they even existed until I opened up this table, put my item into research, and it's like, oh, hey, you don't have any science points. I'm like, how do I get science points? Apparently, you put a book on the table, it gives you science points.
You know this.
So, it's just another bottleneck because I got unlucky on those random drops. It's going to take me longer to get through that section. He got that, so he was able to research, and he kind of screwed himself because when you put in items to research, you're going to get a certain color research point for the tree, and he only did red and greens. He didn't do anything that gave him blue, so he missed a lot of opportunity there. Whereas if I had that, maybe I would have made the same mistake, but I kind of knew that I wanted to get blue, and I kind of had an idea of how it worked even before I saw him do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, if I have these, I can get blue, but no science, no books, no paper. So yeah, because the iron grind is so bad, I can't progress with this research stuff. Even if I have to grind out some of that, that's fine. I can craft these items to get points and stuff, but yeah, so it's very rough right now. I'm going to play it some more. I'm just trying to right now balance out, make sure I'm doing enough Destiny 2 play to hit the goal for the end of the month with the DLC, or with the end of the Solstice event in preparation. But yeah, it's just kind of frustrating. It's one of those things where the grind doesn't match up with the payoff type thing.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And the grind doesn't feel good. I'm just literally waiting. I can't do anything to speed it up. I literally have like a 3-minute timer, or whatever the timer is. It may be a minute and a half, but when you're playing a game, a minute and a half is a long time.
Yeah. Especially if it's just, you can't do anything else, it's wait for this.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess maybe this game would pose better on like a mobile version or a mobile app, but yeah,
I don't know. But
that's not really my style anyway.
It's not like there aren't other things I can do, Like, I was like, okay, the furnace takes a lot of fuel. I'll go make a bunch of firewood. So I did that. I had like 100+ firewood, which isn't hard to get, but it was a lot of me going out, chopping down trees, bringing it back, turning into firewood, going to sleep, rinsing, repeating. And the issue I have is that in game, like 3 days are passing while I'm doing all this other stuff, and I get 2 ingots out of it, It doesn't take that long. There should be some association with in-game day. If I'm not sleeping, totally fine with it taking that long. But if I want to go to sleep so I can wake up and it be done, I think that is totally reasonable, Yeah.
It's another game I'm going to have to ask you, man. So far, do you feel like you got your money's worth out of it?
Not yet. Not yet. I got 5 hours into it. I want to say it's $15.
Yeah, it sounds
No,
like
it's
a lot
$20.
That's a lot for having a huge, basically a grind at the beginning of the game that's going to be a wall to motivation and incentive, you know?
Yeah. And
because that could kill it for somebody.
I'm sure there's a more optimal route than what I did to kind of, make it not as bad. Like I said, I could have bought iron ingots, and each of those I could turn into parts. But I didn't want to spend the money because I haven't made much. So then I would have to focus more on the economy side of things and look at values and determine what I can do without, because pretty much everything you have has a purpose. Every item you have, whether it's a food item to give you energy, an item that's a material to craft a higher tier crafting material, everything has a purpose. So you don't necessarily want to get rid of anything. Like food's essentially the most expendable item. And I discovered last night while I was just trying to look at recipes and stuff and mess around with buttons, I found you can use more ingredients in items to make them higher quality. So that's a whole nother aspect I'm going to have to consider when crafting things. Not sure how much it's worth it, but it's something that, I'll certainly have to explore and look at.
Keep an eye out for dragon scales and dragon, dragon ingredients. It's going to help you. It's my Breath of the Wild joke. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not giving up on the game. I'm going to still play it. It overall has a fun premise to it. It's just a matter of getting all the mechanics unlocked for yourself. I do have concerns about the longevity of the game, because there's finite space, in your yard. There's a finite research tree, of course. It's not going to be infinite. But I feel like once you get to a certain point, it's going to decline fast. Right now I have tons of things I could do. I have a couple of bottlenecks, but once I actually get to doing them, I'm concerned that it's all going to go really fast. Kind of like how Another Brick in the Mall. It was really, really slow. There's this huge bottleneck on cash starting out, but once I got to like $2,000 a day profit, the game's essentially over. I've got enough profit, I can keep doing things.
I'm trying to recall specifics when I played through Stardew Valley, because a lot of this sounds like Stardew Valley-esque. And I think that was, I think I played this like 2 years ago, so it's been a minute. And I didn't necessarily, it's not that I ran through it, it's just that kind of the same thing you're saying. Once things started going, it was just everything was popping off, and then before I knew it, I went from I have like a shit ton of land to clear, and I can only buy so many seeds and only plant so many plants at a time, to where I had like 6, 7, 8 rows of plants all set up with automatic sprinklers, had animals that had automatic feeders, etc., yada yada yada, and it was like, well, I don't really know what else I'm supposed to do now. The story is kind of okay, but I've kind of finished the story as much as I care, Yeah,
that one really didn't have much of a story. You just played for 3 years, and if you did good enough, you got the good result. If not, you didn't. The big thing
really leveraged on the gameplay, and then the gameplay just kind of went, done.
Yeah, the big thing for Stardew Valley was the collections. I still didn't finish them all. But I was working on it, but I had a couple that were like super low % drops from like fishing and stuff. But I was working on 100%ing the game, and that's what gave me more gameplay out of it. Now it has multiplayer in it, so I'm probably going to be doing that soon. Not sure how much I'll play it, because I played through before. Like I said, I was on my way to 100%ing the game. I got probably 90% done with it. So, but I haven't played with all the new updates. So I'm kind of curious what that'll change, how playing with more than one person will change. If we play with the kids, that's going to be completely different, because playing with kids. But Yeah, it had more to it. Going through the levels in the mine that gave you something to do. If the energy system was less restrictive, I think it would kind of suffer like Graveyard Keeper is. Because one of the things about Graveyard Keeper is you can go to bed anytime you want. And you can sleep for as long as short amount of time as you want. I think it will actually... I think after like being up for 24 hours or something, or like 36 hours in the game, you actually get an icon on your screen. I've never seen it, but Ko had it on his when he was out doing something for a long time. I don't know if it'll eventually make you like pass out or something, but it gives you quite a ways, and you don't want to stay up because you're not getting energy. You know, you eventually need to sleep to be able to do stuff.
Yeah.
But the energy is a bit too free, probably. In the alpha, it was definitely too restrictive. And there was a mechanic in game where you got way more energy, like double the energy sleeping at night than you did during the day. So it penalized you quite a bit for not actually sleeping at nighttime, which didn't really work out very well in that game. It's not... I don't know if I want to say it's not balanced well enough for that. It may be that the days aren't balanced with the energy, if that makes sense. So either too much time or not enough time was passing. So like you run out of energy first thing in the morning, or you wouldn't, and you'd run out in the middle of the night, you know.
Yeah.
So you ended up sleeping in the morning when it's daylight, and your energy gains went from 4s and 5s to 1s and 2s. You know, maybe a 3 here and there.
Yeah.
So I think they may have overdid it with the energy. But it's not really bad. I mean, really, like I said, for me, I think it comes down to the time, things that require real time to wait on. Without having enough other things to do. I'm sure that'll change. You know, once I unlock a couple more things, I can go fish while iron's cooking, you know. But to unlock fishing, I mean, I technically can buy a rod from the guy, but to do his quest, I have to unlock a research that takes the blue points. So to get the blue points, I need this and that, you know. So it's a...
Yeah, you're managing you're managing your priorities.
Yeah. But once I unlock these things, maybe it'll be better. Maybe this is just... It's a bottleneck now, won't be a concern, you know, in another more hour of gameplay. Could very well be that way. You said you're
about 5 hours into it so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like I said, there are ways I could have went through quicker. I think Ko made it essentially to where I'm at in like 3.5, because he had, you know, his chat helping him, you know, being like, hey, you need to do this, or this is useful on this. Like, you can remove items from bodies or pieces from bodies. Like you start out being able to just take some flesh from it. Which has its whole own connotations to it, because you can cook that flesh and eat it. And there's a whole storyline thing with getting a royal stamp so you can actually sell it to the tavern. Because they require the stamp because, you know, there was unsavory sourced meat in the past. But once you get the stamp, it's good to go. You know, that's their check. So that's the first thing you can take off pretty much from the start. But then you can start taking out blood and fat. But taking out blood and fat's good. But if you take out, unless you screw it up, which can happen. But then if you take out the skull, the body's in worse shape. If you take out bones, the body's in worse shape. You know, you have things that are good to take out, things that are bad to take out. But all the items you can take out have a purpose. You know, it's whether or not you want to do that. Because when you bury a body, that quality determines how quality of a grave it can be. These little skull indicators, and they're either red or white, and for every red, your quality doesn't count for that one. So if you have a body that has 2 red skulls on it, 1 white, that means you have to have 3 positive things on your grave just to counteract the 2 and get the 1 white. And you can't go a higher quality than there are skulls. So you have 3 white skulls, you can get +3 on that grave. If you have 2 red skulls and a white skull, you can only get +1. So you get a lot of benefit out of burying bodies in better condition. So there's a balance to, okay, this body I'm going to take stuff out of, or I'm not going to take stuff out of and bury it just to get a better score. So my graveyard's better. But I need stuff from this body. So I'm going to take all this stuff out instead of burying. I'm just going to go toss it in the river. Which I believe have connotations later on in the game. But for now, it's the only alternative I have. There is a crematorium. It kind of gives you a sign going, hey, crematorium here. But there's probably something story or research related, and I don't have it yet.
Yeah.
But if you don't bury it, you don't get the money for dealing with the body. You only get the money if you bury it. And based on what I know, I think it's also if you cremate them, you get the money because you're still, technically doing what you're supposed to.
Yeah.
But if you throw it in the river, you get nothing other than the parts you took out of it.
That was a big question I had about this game. How much of it is like actual grave stuff? Like how much of it is it actually him being a graveyard keeper as opposed to basically fucking Stardew Valley?
I think it varies depending on what your priorities are. Because there is, like I said, a whole storyline type thing related around the church, and that's, based on your graveyard rating. And to do that, you have to take care of the bodies. But like there's what do I want to call it? There's a barrier at the point I'm at where I can't get any more bodies until I do something else. So I have to go do that, which is going to take time. Not a big deal. I'm okay with it because I have so much other stuff I can do. Really, the only thing that's hurting me on it right now is the money aspect, because I can get a body, bury it, and get money for it. That's really the only reason I care about it, and because I threw like 3 bodies in the river in a row because I kept screwing them up. I didn't understand the mechanics behind the removing things. So I just did them all and ended up with, like 4 red skulls, no white. It's like, all right, I'm not burying this body. So I just chuck it in the river. But yeah, so there's lots of good mechanics to the game. Story feels weak right now. Bottlenecks with iron. And concern about longevity. I think it's a pretty good way to
The fact that you talked about this game like 3 times as long as Destiny 2 says something to me, man.
Well, I've talked about Destiny 2 a lot in the past, so.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. Gotta keep it in context.
Yeah. And I'm trying to keep Destiny short because I talk about it essentially every week. So I'm going to keep playing it. I think I'll be doing Destiny 2 tonight. Hopefully knock out the clan stuff. If the person I was trying to coordinate with isn't able to play, I might play more Graveyard Keeper. Because like I said, I'm not really feeling the Destiny grind today. Though I should, because I only have until Tuesday at 1's reset, or whatever time it is, to get those 3 weapons. That can only be done, or 3 per week, I think I need 5, so I need at least 2 this week. And then I can do 3 next week and be done. Yeah, I don't like that whole... And that's kind of a big thing with Destiny, is the week gate, the week time gate. You only do so much stuff in a week. If I want to play 40 hours of Destiny and knock everything out in 1 week, I should be able to,
Yes.
I don't really like
agreed.
being limited to, okay, you can play 5 hours this week, 5 hours next week, to make progress towards an objective.
I don't even understand the mentality behind that. Like, I guess it's that to try to help keep everybody around the same level and the same playing field, but why? I
think it's more to keep people playing the game, period. Coming back to the game. Because if everybody maxes out month 1 and month 2, it's not really a whole lot of reason to play unless they release DLC. But if they time gate
Solid
stuff...
point, yeah.
I'm talking about Destiny again.
I did
it. It wouldn't be so bad, in particular talking about these weapons, if they didn't take materials that had such a low cap on how many you can hold. Because you get them from doing things you're going to do anyway. Like when I'm doing milestones, I'll get the materials from Strikes and from Crucible. Those both drop. Public events drop them at a fairly decent pace. I was working on the Solstice armor drops, and I got enough materials just from doing those to do 2 weapons, or to finish one and then do the next 2. No problem. But you can only hold, and each of these items has 2 tiers to it, and you need 10 of the item to turn it into the advanced version. The base item you can only hold 20 of, which means you can only hold the materials for 2 of the advanced one, which is whatever, fine, except you can only hold 3 of the advanced one. So at the peak of having your inventory full, you can hold enough for 5 items of that type. And each weapon takes 2 of, based on where I'm at now, 2 of each, essentially, or 2 of the 3 types, because there are 3 different materials. It's going to take at least 2 of them. The part I'm on now actually takes 2 of all 3. The third one I hadn't used yet, so that was fine, but I was completely out of the other 2. Or I had one of them and then none of this third. So I'm officially halfway done with the item, but this one doesn't even count for the week, I think, or this is one of the in-between ones. So
right.
Because I guess I got to a point where I have a little mini quest in the middle of these weapon crafting things, because it's kind of one big quest line, and you craft 3 weapons, and then there's another part of the quest line or something. Not quite following, because it's been so long since I did anything related to it. Yeah. I've been sitting on these materials and stuff, and I was capped out on materials for a long time because I was missing one of the 3, but the other 2 have been capped out for probably months. So now I've got to actually farm these materials, but I don't want to do that unless I'm accomplishing other things, because it's so slow.
Right.
Like Crucible. Crucible's okay because I'm doing Iron Banner, Crucible bounties, the Crucible milestone, which the bounties are worthless essentially, but I still do them just because it's, hey, you accomplished something, The milestone, which I now know is useless, so I don't care anymore, which is bad, I have this objective. It's a clear objective for me to accomplish every week, and it's now worthless. That is such a shit thing to do. It makes 0 sense. So now I don't care about milestones. So that knocks out essentially all my motivation for the week. It's like, okay, I log on Tuesday or Wednesday, knock out my milestones, I'm done for the week. Now it's like, okay, I log on Tuesday at the reset. Don't need milestones. Don't care. Okay, turn the game off. What am I supposed to do? If it wasn't for the Moments of Triumph stuff and the Solstice stuff I'm working on, I probably wouldn't be playing at all right now.
God, that's such a sad thing to hear, man, too, because it's like I'm barely there. I'm barely holding on. I have something that's keeping me there, but it's like if you're good enough. Not, oh man, this is great. I'm having such a good time. I love this. It's like addiction. It's like,
Yeah. So it's rough. I want to get through it, but it's one of those, like we talked about before, it's that grind. You just have to force yourself through it, and it doesn't feel good if you want to accomplish it.
It does not.
But yeah, so and as much annoyance I'm having with Graveyard Keeper, I'd much rather do that than the grind. So it's one of those things where I'm like, and I was planning on going back to working on Octopath Traveler and finally finishing it up, or trying to anyway. But then the Destiny 2 stuff picked up. I'm like, all right, I need to spend time on this. Octopath Traveler isn't going nowhere. But these events are going away, and I will never be able to get these items again. And that's the only reason I'm still grinding. So yeah, now let's talk about my week for an hour.
That's totally fine, man. Apparently this Graveyard Keeper is a damn good game because, wow.
That's pretty good.
I mean, hey, at the end of the day, if and when you're done with that and the other 17 games you're working on, you could always go play Persona 4. It's there for you to try.
Yeah, I was looking at that as you were talking about it. I looked up, I was like, okay, how can I play this game?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to have to hook up my PS3. I don't want to do that. I don't have a spot on my desk.
I agree with you. I'm the same way. Like I just having to go back and hook everything up. It's such a fucking first world problem. I'm such a whiny ass when it comes to that. But once I've made room and then figured out how to split all these HDMIs and have everything going to any monitor that I want or any TV I want.
Yeah. Once
I did the fucking work, now they're there. Now I'm not removing them. Like, and that goes for any other console, PlayStation 2, GameCube, NES, whatever. Once I have it finally worked out, I just leave it there.
I mean, I think
because I know in the past I obviously said too, just not on the podcast, just for myself personally. It's like, when am I going to play the PlayStation 1 ever again? I'll just play the PlayStation 2 and I'll be damned.
Yeah, I actually have my PS3 over by the other TV. I don't even know I think it's hooked up right now. It might be. But the issue is I'm playing at my desk, and I already have PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on my desk, along with my work laptop. 4 screens. I only have so much real estate, so
you have to start bolting your consoles to the wall, man.
We'll have to have a conversation about this sometime else, but I have plans for my desk space. It's kind of only because of the apartment I'm in now that I'm kind of limited like I am, but when it's all said and done and I have a little bit more room, I have plans. I want to be able to fit everything that I care about. Now, I've been thinking about, if I get serious about speedrunning Final Fantasy VII, sure, I'm practicing on the emulator, save states and all this stuff. It's just way easier.
Common sense, come on.
Now, once I want to do a run for real and actually get my name on a leaderboard, I need to bust out either my old PlayStation 1 or probably buy, because I don't think I have the PS2 for it. That's backward. They're all backwards compatible, but there's on some of the PS2s, there's a disk speed option that you can set up in the PS2's BIOS, that first splash screen. So it actually runs faster and it shaves like X amount of time, which doesn't matter for me starting out. But if I want to be serious about it, that's something I have to consider, and I'll need room for that. But my HDMI splitter, I had one that had 3 ports. So I had one going for my TV, and everything on it went to that one. Because I had another splitter over there with like 5 ports. But now I have stuff on my desk and at the other TV, and I'm just ignoring the TV right now. Everything's on my desk that I'm using. So I have a 4-port splitter, 3 consoles plus my PC that go to my screen. So I want to get a bigger splitter. And I have no outlet space. I actually bought during the Prime Day thing a long desk surge protector. Actually, attaches to the edge of the desk, and the ports are spaced more apart, so you don't have that problem like you do with the normal surge protector. Where you have a brick plug and it blocks 3 plugs because it's so big. So this, and I don't have it hooked up yet or attached to my desk yet. It's still in the box next to me. But that'll give me, I think it's only like 1 or 2 more spots technically, but the space will will free up like 3 or 4 more spaces for me. So totally worth the little bit it costs. It wasn't much at all, especially with Prime Day.
This is such a good thing about Amazon being what it is, and just in general, not just Amazon, but in general, shopping online for stuff. Because when I searched for power supplies, I needed 3 at least, and I made sure to find ones that had all that. Like I need. How many does the one next to me have? I think it has like 12, but. Like, it looks big, it looks bulky, it's got some curves to it. They try to stylize it, but it's a big power supply, and it only has 12 spaces, and then like 3 in the middle. But all of them, even the ones in the middle, they're all spaced. Like, there's lots of room. There's lots of room for me to plug anything, no matter what weird, odd-ass plug you can give me. It'll go in here and not take up room. And that's a necessity. Couldn't find that going to Walmart. Couldn't find a Target, Best Buy, and granted, this was, years ago. I've had these forever. But, fucking 5 minutes shopping online, Amazon, boom, there we go. Yeah,
these are the ones where it's the single strip. All the outlets are on the same line. It's just like 3 feet long.
Yeah.
So it'll attach to the side of my desk and be pretty much the width of my desk and just attach to one of the bars underneath, and I'll plug stuff in that way. I wouldn't have even thought about buying this because I was looking at Surge Protectors. I was like, yeah, I need more space. And the ones I have are pretty good about it. I picked them specifically for that reason. But I would have never thought about buying this, but it showed up on, the deals. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I could use one of those. And there goes the money,
Yep. I've mentioned this before, man, but man, my setup here is so crazy. Like it functions now that I have everything set correctly and have everything connected and all, but the slight negative side of having 2 monitors is having everything running through both monitors whenever you want them. So if I'm playing, I can play PC on one screen and then I can play PlayStation 4 on one screen and then have the PC running on another screen, playing videos or surfing the web or doing whatever. I can have it where I'm playing PlayStation 4 on my screen and my wife is playing another PlayStation 4 on her screen. And just the way that all of this has worked out, the way that I had to split the signals coming individually from the systems and then add extra HDMI ports to each of the TVs and then have those in a selectable. I have a fucking remote for each of these 2 HDMI selectors.
Yeah, me too.
It's insanity. And yeah, it's an extra button or 2 clicking, but my setup is so I can play any box on that desk on these entertainment centers on either one of these screens at the push of some buttons.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, the back is a fucking mess. Like, it is bad. It's a bad jungle of stuff back here. And I am not that anal about that stuff, as much of a, putting things in particular places kind of guy that I am. You think that I would be, but the amount of work it takes to get all that shit just to function. I put cords where they need to go. It works. I drop the cords. I leave it. I don't have shit bundled and zip tied and nice and neat.
Yeah.
It's just, if this shit works, I let it be.
I have a mess with my cables as well, but a lot of it I don't have a choice with because the cords are just long enough. I actually have things positioned in ways. Some of them are where they are only because of cable length. I literally have no options.
Man.
So, and I actually, before I bought this power strip, I bought 2 like 12-foot long power cords for monitors because my monitors because I have 4 monitors on my desk, so I have 2 and then 2 above it. The ones above it can only reach so far. So it's like running across the thing instead of running along, the spine of the monitor stand and stuff. It's just diagonal across everything. And I have a power cord out of one of them that keeps coming out if I ever bump with my foot, which is annoying. So it's
I don't even want to think about how much money I've spent just on HDMI cords. Like
I have a bin of them, and it's like I thought I had more, so I buy more, and it's like I need more.
Because that is the other side of this is going to be the fucking hardware episode now. But that is another side effect of all this stuff is like, yeah, it's nice and quaint having 2 large 60-something inch monitors side by side. The problem is, and you I guess I don't know how much people have to deal with this all the time, but you don't realize until you start hooking all this shit up, none of these cords are long enough. Oh, yeah. Like you're having to put consoles in places that you don't want to put them or where they don't belong because you don't have that extra like 4 inches of freaking cord space, or you're buying extensions, or you're buying the same cord but buying a longer cord and longer power cords and all that.
I was so amused because I don't remember what it was I bought, but for some reason it came with like a 2-foot HDMI cable. They expect you to put it like right next to the TV. I was like, all right, that's going in the box and never being used. But my switch is right next to the HDMI splitter. So I literally now have a purpose for that cable. It has a home.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. The first world problems we have. Man,
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you. It is nice though. Again, just the having. I don't know why. It's funny when I go to other people's houses, especially ones that are medium to average gamers, and I'm like, man, you just got one TV? How do you do this? Like, what do you do? It's like they're like, not everybody's a fucking weirdo like you that has to be ingesting two forms of media at the same time. I don't know, man. I love it. It's awesome.
My living room may only have one TV, but between all the computer desks, there are 8 monitors.
Jesus.
There are 5 computers, 8 monitors. So.
Yeah.
Plus a TV.
Yep. Well, Chris, I guess we can roll into today's topic.
Sure.
Today, we're going to be talking about early access. Early access, of course, in the video game world.
Yep.
This is something that I'm not well versed on. This is something that I've only really dove into because it was a topic thing as of recent. I have had a couple early access stories or a couple games that I could tell about, but this is not something I'm extremely versed in. As of note, another game that I purposely left out of my week, but one that I can, bring into this topic is Dead Cells. I heard about Dead Cells from two best friends back when they did basically a one-off video of it months ago, maybe even a year ago. I'm not sure. And the gameplay seemed interesting enough for me. It's side scrolling. It's got some Metroidvania, but it's roguelike is the main takeaway from it. You can go around the world and collect special items to increase your abilities and your mobility and your attack and magic and all this stuff. Of course, if you die, now this could sound so bad because I have died, but I think I've died and just like quit. So I'm not sure if it drops items a la Souls, but yeah, I mean, it's entertaining. And so I saw the video for Two Best Friends when they dropped that. And then I went out and bought I don't know if it was on sale or if I was just like, wow, and just went out and bought it. But I didn't realize until after I bought it, and I'm sure they said it in the video. I just either didn't pay attention or I'm always enamored when I see a game that says early access, but I'm watching somebody play it like it's nobody's business.
Yeah.
Like you're damn near playing the full game. Like, what are you missing? Like, there's one level. There's 13 levels. They're working on the last level, or the game is complete. We're just upgrading texture packs or fixing, a laundry list of bugs, but you can still pretty much play the game. I love that. And I think that might have been what this early access thing was for Dead Cells. Like, so I went out and bought it and just, right off the bat, I could start playing it. So, I didn't have the experiences beforehand. So if the people that kind of got on the real early floor, I wasn't a part of, I pretty much played a damn near built game and was like, yeah, this is awesome. Cool. And because of that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
When did you actually play it? When did you start playing it?
Oh, I would have to go look up, let me see, I'd have to go look up the video. I don't know how to look and see when I first bought it on Steam, and I'm too lazy to look. Yeah,
I mean, if you just open the game, it'll tell you when you bought it.
It 1 year ago is when they dropped their video, and that's pretty much when I bought the game, somewhere around there.
Okay, but did you play it then, or did you just start playing it? Okay.
Nuh-uh. I bought it then, and that's what I'm saying. That's what drew me in to play it, period, was the fact that like I'm watching them and they're going, I don't know how far they made it, but there was a lot of gameplay that they kept doing, and there was no cutoff. They didn't get to a certain thing. Go, all right, well, thanks for playing. That was level 1. You can play the other 20 levels when the game is out. They just kept going. Those are the kind of early accesses that I have, been interested in or got involved with.
Yeah, so with early access, the big thing with it is, and for those that don't know, early access is that terminology comes from Steam. It used to be greenlit games or something like that. I think that was games that needed to be full, that were trying to be fully released on Steam, whatever. Something evolved in the early access, which are games that are still in early phases. And Michael, you actually asked this question to me before. Well, what's the difference, between that and like an alpha or beta? Early access is all the above, and that's kind of where it suffered, I think, as a start. Early access has been around now for 3 years, something like that. It's been quite a while now. And when it first came out, there were tons of horror stories because it was kind of being used for alpha versions of games, which were very buggy, minimal content. Sometimes even the framework of the game wasn't completely done. So people would pay to play these games and not have a good time, which is kind of what early access, that's the biggest difference between early access and alpha and betas in general, is that when there is a beta for a game, typically that's free to play. You're testing the game out for one reason or another, and that's it. Like MMO, hey, it's open beta for everyone. You don't have to own the game to play it, to help us, load test servers, check for bugs, etc. There are some, buy the game and you get access to the beta. Sure, but you're getting essentially a complete game, or a game that's in its final phases. It's not like, oh, we still need to add all the content. It's like, okay, content's there. We need to do the QA, finish that up and launch the game. Early access games are all parts of the development cycle. So you're paying for a game that you may have an hour's worth of time on and go, this is a mess. There are games that have been in early access for years. Some of them, that's okay. Some of them, that's not okay. Like I've talked about in the past, 7 Days to Die. I love that game. That game, I think they still consider an alpha. But it's got so much to it. They're constant. I say constantly. I think they had a period where people got a little upset because they weren't updating as much. But the studio grew. They've added more people. They've updated more. And the game's still fun. There's a update being pushed soon. I actually need to check and see if it's out yet, because it's now middle of August, and I think that's about the time the update was supposed to push. But every time they push out an update, I'm like, awesome. Me and my girlfriend go start a new world, play it together, see what changed, and we'll put 40 hours into it. And this is just this version of it, just to see what changed. Because it's how much fun the game is. One that's kind of notorious is DayZ. It's another survival game similar to, I think it actually came out before 7 Days, which is originally one of the reasons people hated on 7 Days, I think, was they thought it was just going to be a clone. But DayZ, there were issues with its development. I don't know if it actually stopped development at one point in time or another, but it's still technically in early access and still up. I'm just not sure how much progress is being made on it. But if you look at the reviews for it on Steam, I think I closed the page because I'm an idiot. But I looked at it and it was like mostly negative. It was like for recent, it was very negative. And for long term or lifetime, it was mostly negative.
Jesus.
Let me see if that's the one. Okay, sorry. Recent reviews is mostly negative, and all reviews is mixed. And it's been released since 2013, so it's been almost 5 years now, because it's December of 2013. So it's almost 5 years in early access, and it's not getting good reception. Whereas 7 Days to Die, actually, is that the same day? 7 Days to Die released 3 days before DayZ. So it's been out also almost 5 years, but its recent reviews are mixed, which I don't know why. I think it might be because it's been a while since the patch and they're about to put one out. But the all reviews, the lifetime, very positive. So these are two games, very similar in style, similar lifespans, like 3 days apart at this point. I'm not sure how much time either of these had before they went to early access, whether or not they were accessible or not. Don't know. It's not really going to factor into this, but just those two review differences shows you a different level of experiences you get with early access.
Yeah.
You know, and like I was saying, I think we've entered an era kind of with early access where we're getting way more positive experiences than negative.
Yeah, I think by now, with all the horror stories that I did read, people kind of have the idea you gotta follow through with this shit, man, because it's not good. It's there are now consequences for you going, it just kind of petered off, and no.
Yeah. And I think the whole Kickstarter thing didn't help, because that was a thing. Yeah. That was a debacle. One of the games I noted down as being a horror story was actually Goddess. Do you know about that one?
Goddess.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. God, that sounded so familiar. I'm gonna go look it up.
Okay. Yeah. So that was a Kickstarter game. Got like $800,000 back in 2014. I want to say it is 2013. I think.
Mm-hmm.
It is still in early access. It has whatever the worst review status is. It has that for recent and all reviews, I think. And yeah, it's bad. But $800,000 kickstarted, and people still don't have a full game from it. That's kind of the stuff that made early access hard for people early on too, that really cared, that really wanted to do it. Because people are like, oh, it's just another early access game. Who cares? You know, it's just going to be another Goddess or whatever. But now, right now, I would say is really good for early access. PUBG, as much as we crap on it, it was early access for a while. Finally released, which is good. But it was a success. I mean, personal feelings aside, it's a successful game.
Yeah, you can't deny the numbers, man.
Yeah. It's even gone on consoles now, so that's good for them. Even though it's technically early access still on consoles, but that doesn't really matter when it's all said and done. Ark, I haven't played it, and watching it, it's whatever, but it was early access. And I don't know when they actually released it, but it's got a positive, I want to say it's mostly positive rankings. They're releasing all kinds of DLC and stuff for it. It's used for RP, for role play. So it's got an audience. And generally, as far as I know, people are overall happy with it.
Cool.
I talked about before, and this is actually my favorite story of early access. A game that's still in early access. It's it just updated. Let me go see if it's still my downloads. Of course not, because I clear my downloads. But it's the computer simulator game. PC building simulator. This game, I played, had fun with it, and I was like, okay. I enjoyed it. You know, I pretty much capped out the game after putting 28 hours into it.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, this is cool. You know, it's early access, so who knows when there will be an update, whatever, and when the game will actually be done. I'll pick it back up then. So I went to the website after I saw some article or something on the Steam page, and they've pumped out update after update after update. They have lists of things they're actively working on, things that they're going to do next, and they cross things out the list as they complete them and push them out to the game on Steam.
Nice.
It is
nice.
Awesome. And these aren't, you know, minor bug fix tweaks. These are feature changes. These are more, not quite, there's not really a story, but more customers. More content. Yeah, more customers. They're changing features, adding features, like you run benchmarks on your computers you build. And these computers, the benchmark thing sucked, really, to run. But now they've changed it, so it runs a little differently. And it seems, I haven't played it since, but reading the patch notes and, how they changed it, it makes sense. And now it seems like it'd be a lot better and smoother. Adding more computer parts. They have these whole lists like, yeah, we're going to add these models of video cards to the game next. They just have to model them in and stuff. But it's awesome to see. The other one I really liked recently, haven't played it. I actually bought it for my girlfriend to play instead of buying it for myself. But it's called Raft. Have you seen any gameplay of it?
That's another one that sounds familiar. I'm gonna have to look it up. I couldn't find any pictures of the freaking Goddess game, so I gave that one up.
Yeah, if you search on Steam, you won't find it, but if you Google it, you'll find the Steam page for it. It's weird how they have it. I think it's like blocked from search results or something on Steam itself, which would be very interesting if that was actually the case.
Yeah.
But Raft is a survival game, but it's different.
Bingo. Yes.
You start out on a raft, hence the name, on essentially a water world. It's Earth, but the water's level's risen and stuff.
Right.
It has probably 8 hours of solid gameplay, probably 6 to 8 hours, if you don't rush it to get to where the game is at right now. And even after I've watched all 8 hours of gameplay, I still feel like I could go play it and have fun. It's something that, I'm going to play with my girlfriend probably, which is the main reason I bought it for her was so she could try it. So I know if we'd actually play it together.
Yeah.
And she cursed at me as she started. But anyway, yeah, but it's another one where they released a mechanically solid game with enough content and actual progression to get you through that many hours of gameplay, and that's from like day one of early access. That's like day one of early access release. When the first day you could download it, you had this much content. So even though it's more of a demo at that point, it's still enough, Yeah. It kind of accomplished what it was meant to. It got bugs discovered, which is what you want in any sort of beta and even alpha. But it also got interest in the game. So what I've seen gives me hope for the game in the future, and makes me want to support that game, So, yeah. And that's kind of one of the good things about early access is these developers, especially indie developers, can release an early access version of their game, get that support, and that helps them fund the rest of the game.
Right.
Really, most of the horror stories you hear are when games make a ton of money, and then you never hear from them again.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, yeah, you mentioned Kickstarters. They had the same thing, and they have worse ones where it's like, oh, here's the money, and this is what we're giving you. And like, we gave you $5 million. Why does this look like it belongs on Steam's 427th page? What is this?
Yeah. What, you said you had a couple games that you had stories of or you were going to want to talk about?
I know Dead Cells was the main one that came to mind because that was the most recent one. Yeah. I know I'm speaking for him. He's not here with us today, unfortunately, but I know Adam talks a lot about Star Citizen. Mm-hmm. And this was kind of my first foray into just hearing about early access because I didn't even know this was a thing. I find some things about it pretty amazing. And this was the first game that this is the game that introduced me to early access.
Sure.
This game has been around for quite some time. It's the butt of a lot of jokes because it is still in early access. It's still not being released yet. But it seems that this is the kind of game where early access is almost a necessity because they kept, I'm saying that in past because I believe they finally have stopped and have set a boundary and said, all right, we're stopping adding things, but they continued to add things for this game continuously. Like they kept having so many briefings and updates. Like, hey, we got some more money. We decided to put some more. We had several ideas to add more implementation. We're gonna revamp the combat. We're gonna revamp control. We're gonna revamp latency. We're gonna revamp texture packs. We're adding multiplayer. We're adding these different types of multiplayer abilities, etc., so on. I mean, you can put a bare basic amount of money into that game right now and play it, and whenever the game finally gets released, you have the game. That is an appeal to me of early access. It's a way for people to test what's coming out. Now, what I wonder is, okay, let's say there's a game out there. It seems interesting. It's in early access. Yeah, sure. Let me drop $30. You drop $30. You think it's a piece of garbage. Can you get a refund like normal Steam stuff? Can you get refunds, period? Well, yeah, that's fucking great.
I haven't seen any exceptions, so I'd imagine so. And I was looking at Star Citizen. That's actually not on Steam, so that's still early access the way they're running,
right?
But yeah, that's.
I'm encompassing early access. I'm not just limited to Steam. I mean, it's.
I just wanted to clarify just to make sure, in case anybody else is curious, like I was, if it had anything on Steam yet.
Yeah, in case they go to Steam and they're like, "This game isn't here. What is this?"
Yeah. And I've seen Dead Cells get a lot of Twitch time recently because they just launched on the 6th of this month of August. Mm-hmm. So it's fresh, and people played alpha and beta and stuff. And I know Co-Carnage, I've been watching a lot of his stuff lately. He was really excited for it because he played it early on. And he's like, all right, I'm going to wait for release, and I can't wait. But there are so many games. Prison Architect, I talked about it before. I think I talked about it. I think that was when I was on the cast. But it's another simulation game. You're running in a prison. I mean, surprise, surprise. I played another simulation game. But it was early access. I'm actually curious if it still is. I don't even know. But it was a full game when I played it. I didn't have any issues with it. I didn't think there was a content shortage. It is out. I may have bought it after it came out of... I feel like it was at the end of early access when I got it. But it's been there a while. Yeah. So,
one of the things that I don't know, again, because there's so few games. I'm looking through my list, and it's really almost like Dead Cells is about the only one that I've ever actually personally bought into. But probably because I would like, depending on how hard up I am for the game, I'd much rather just wait until the game was finished. I'd much rather just have the game be dropped. I don't know. It is nice to be there either on the ground floor or somewhere in the middle or somewhere close to the end, and just you basically have the game early. That part I get. But I don't know. I haven't seen any games so far on Steam that have made me just jump through hoops to want to get early access to. So it's very, very subjective. I know. I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
And I try to think of like, what if other companies did it? You know, what if the big three jumped on this? What if Breath of the Wild 2, was to have an early access? Would I jump on that? I think I would not. As much as I love Breath of the Wild, I'd want that game to just floor me. I wouldn't want to jump in and, well, you got to do these tricks to get Epona to even walk. It's alpha, it's beta. You got to be careful.
Yeah, I think there's thinking about it from that perspective, there's a big difference between those developers and, most of the early access on Steam is indies.
Yeah.
These are people who may not be able to fund the game to completion, unless they have support. And instead of kickstarting, where people may or may not end up with something, but in early access, they pay and they get to play. And even if the game unfortunately doesn't, end up being what they expect, they got something out of it instead of nothing, which is, still not great, but that's kind of at this point in time, worst case scenario,
And the fact that it has pretty much the same refund policy set up. I mean, you're basically trying a game out. You're just trying it out early.
Yeah.
And even then, you may not. It depends on the level of how bad how many complaints and how the severity of those complaints are that you have. Because are you wanting a refund and or leaving the game because it's like month 1? That's kind of, you're asking a lot. But then again, that also depends on when they put the game up for early access. A lot of variables you're discussing here. You almost got to take these games by a case basis.
Yeah, it's also, I kind of wonder if there's also an aspect of it where, kind of like how at E3 and other things, there's a limited audience that actually gets hands-on with these early versions of games. Like Cyberpunk did. They handled it very well. So they didn't end up with a lot of people going, oh, I played it and it sucked. They had people who were typically in the industry, as far as media goes. They actually took the time to demo properly. Whereas if a game's available via early access, anybody can log on, download it, buy it, download it, play it, and go, oh, this sucks. And all of a sudden you have 1,000 negative reviews on Steam. Whereas, if it was launch, it'd be fine, because you're not showing such a raw game. So it's probably better from at least AAAs, these studios that have a lot to lose. If even a hint of something wrong is there, they're going to get trounced in the media, and then all of a sudden their game is,
It's good visibility for players it's good visibility for players to see how money directly, depending on the company and how they do it, but it's potential to be a good glass view for players and gamers to be like, oh, okay, this is what it's like when a company only gets $500. This is what it's like when a company gets like 200,000. Like, oh, okay. Oh, all right. So all this stuff can get fixed and all new things get implemented. We get more,
Yeah.
And I get that. That's, it's good. That's good to see.
And it's interesting to see how the developers respond to this, Are they just going to make this game regardless of the feedback they get in early access? Or do they listen like, 7 Days to Die and other games have, where they make changes based on user feedback? They will completely get rid of mechanics if it's bad, They're not... Will they swallow their pride, And
yeah, basically.
You know which studios you want to support in the future based on how they handle an early access game.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a good tool. I think it's nice, and there obviously there is an audience of gamers out there that this plays to. It's again, it really is case by case basis, but it is nice to see somehow if you're perusing, like Steam, and you say, "Oh, here's a trailer that interests me," or "Here's an article on a game that interests me." Well, sure, if it seems interesting, check it out. You can play it right now. Like, the game's not going to be out for another 2 years potentially, but yeah, play it right now. See what you think about it. And then give us feedback on it. What do you think we can improve on? What did you like and not like? You kind of get your hands into the development pot. And as opposed to Kickstarter, where it's like, here's my money, give me product whenever. This is more like, here's money. Oh, well, you need more? Well, let me support you more. I can give more, and I can see it in time happening. You follow the progress. Yeah, it's cool. No. I wish I had more. I just don't.
Yeah. And it's something that a lot of people, they just completely shy away from, because it's early access. These games aren't done. So it's like, well, why would I play a game that's not done? But some of these are, most fun I've had in a long time in this genre, and you never know.
I think there was a mech style game that Adam showed me as well. I believe it also was early access. The name completely escapes me right now, but that was kind of my hesitation. Like that. So Dead Cells is the more positive side of the spectrum for me. It's the, this game is like 85% finished. Here, you can play it, you can play damn near the whole game right now. You're not really going to miss out on what you don't have yet. You're not really going to notice the problems, or if there are problems, they're minimum. Well, the mech game he showed me, it was early access, and it only been there for about 7-8 months, and I'd seen some trailers of it. I'd watched some gameplay of it, and I was like, this is too early. And the potential for the game to be there or to be better is there, but what I saw then I was like, not yet. Like, nah, not for me, not yet. It had a thriving community. I mean, obviously the backers were there and they were playing it and they were having a hell of a time. And the game concept being, a mech, build a mech, shoot other mechs, that was interesting to me. But what I saw was just way too early, and I was like, Yeah. And maybe the incentives from the company are another big part of a draw. Like if you're in so early, like you're part of this, I don't even know if they do shit like that. I'm talking completely out of my ass, but that would be another incentive to be like, depending on how early you got in, is how much, what's some specific things you're going to get. So,
I mean, it's not uncommon for a game to be cheaper in early access too.
Yeah.
So you may get $5, even $10 less paying for the game, buying in early access and trying it and stuff.
Yeah.
In comparison. So.
Yeah, the feedback is definitely the big positive for me on this. Is something where when a company puts a game out there for early access, like you as the player, you should already, if not, you need to know and understand that you're playing something that's not finished. Even if it's 95% finished, it's still not finished. So you're going to run into issues.
Yep.
But a company that has the courage to put their game out there and go, this is what we're trying, folks. And the big takeaway for them is, okay, please give us feedback. What would you change? Why would you change? We already know most of the things that are broke. We're working on the obvious broke things, but what would make this game better? And then they get funding for it. They get more, they get more funding for it, and they go, yeah, now we can add these things, and you get to watch the game progress. Yeah, I get it. It's cool. Or
the game blows out what they started with. They're like, hey, this is what we want to do. And people are like, yeah, we like that. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to do that and more now. So many people like it. We can improve upon an already good, solid idea and foundation.
I have no numbers in front of me to prove it, but I'm just mirroring what you said earlier. Is I really hope that both Kickstarter and Early Access, I hope both of those have kind of seen the majority of their horror stories in the past. And, hopefully legislature or whatever word around it, just things to make that shit not good. Because for either one, for you as a person to drop $30 to $60 on something and then either not deliver or it is absolute garbage, that's not good. I don't really hear too many more stories of that lately. Nope. But again, I don't really follow early access. I had to go research for this, and I found a few stories, but most of the stories were in the past.
Yeah,
exactly. And it was typical things. There was a shitload of money, and then they got something completely different. I think one was like, again, I just don't have it in front of me. And I'm sorry if I'm fucking the story up, but there was some game that got a shitload of money and then ended up being just a mobile game, and people were like, "What? This is shit."
I mean, Goddess kind of had that where they released a mobile version of it, and that kind of took priority or something. That has been a whole mess. There are horror stories about Kickstarters where they got the money, and then one of the devs ran off, went rogue, and like bought a house with the money.
Yes, I think that was another one I read about. Yeah.
But most of that, when I was doing research for this, even though I've played a lot of early access stuff, I still want to see what the internet said. A lot of the stories were from 2016 and prior. Especially with Kickstarter. I want to say 2013 to 2015 was really that rough period. First for Kickstarter and then for early access when it started. Because I don't know when early access actually started. I think it was like 2015. But yeah.
I remember being relatively soon. I thought this was something that had been going on for decades. And now it's fairly recent. I think because Kickstarter was always in my head, and maybe Kickstarter was around a little earlier than that. So yeah, I mean, it's again case by case. It has its ups, it has its downs. But if you're the type of person that sees something and likes to get on the ground floor, and you like to watch it develop, and you get to see your money in progress, it's good stuff.
Yeah, Steam Early Access started March of 2013. Which is actually older than I thought.
It's super baby early. I don't know why. I didn't really have any justification for why I thought that way, but I thought this was like, back in the early 2000s. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to think if I just don't see. That's not really saying the right thing because Sony is just a platform. I don't see other mainstream companies doing this for the consoles. I don't know if this is something consoles can support. Well, maybe. I mean, you have ways to save the games to hard drives. All of them have hard drives now or some type of storage space. All of them have internet capability where you can update via patches. I don't see Capcom doing this. I don't see Street Fighter 6 early access. I don't see a God of War 2 early access.
Yeah.
Could they do it? I think they could, but will they? This is so out of my norm of speaking. Like I don't know if they would. I don't know. I feel like the big companies just want to keep their games under wraps.
I think the biggest hurdle with console early access is the difficulty in pushing patches and updates.
Yeah.
Because there is a much more stringent process for it. It can take a day or two to get a thing pushed. If that, that's pretty good for that. Like No Man's Sky, I think it took them, a day or two to get things pushed. At least 24 hours maybe.
No Man's Sky was early access, wasn't it?
No.
Oh. No. It might have been just the fact. It might have just been a game that had a shitload of hype.
It felt like it.
Yeah.
I was looking up to see when early access started for Steam. I also found some stats. And I was talking about Ark. And it was in early access for essentially 2 years, sold more than 9 million copies before it came out of early access.
Wow.
It's Darkest Dungeon was another big one, which they didn't have huge sales before it came out early access, but early access was still over 500,000 sales between early access and a week after going live.
Is that Ark Survival? Is that the game?
Ark Survival Evolved.
Is that game that has it has fucking dinosaurs in it and shit? Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a fucking PlayStation 4 copy of that in a Walmart one day and I was like, is that a Steam game?
Yeah.
What? Huh.
Yeah.
I'll be damned.
Kerbal Space Program has sold millions of copies.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Jesus.
And again, I don't know, man. It's not. I go through early access, and it's just I don't know. I don't see many things that just spark my interest. I don't see anything that makes me stop hold the phones. I will buy this one right now. I will get it on the ground floor. Again, Dead Cells being my only offer to this table was a very specific set of circumstances because I saw that game played by somebody else, and it was okay. If I was to get this game right now, this is the game that I would be getting. You know, this wasn't like an alpha release. It wasn't 5 months into the process.
And that's kind of the success of early access is word of mouth right now. You see a streamer plays it, and people enjoy what the streamer enjoys it, first of all. And then the people watching enjoy, and they go, okay, I'll go play that. And then other streamers play, and more people see it. That's kind of, I think, how Darkest Dungeon got its attention. Certainly how PUBG got its attention.
Oh, yeah.
And other games. Pretty much all the early access games I've bought. Lately I've had a couple recommended to me just because of all the simulation games I've played. There are tons of them in early access. But most of them have been, I saw someone stream at least part of it or talk about it or something like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, it looks good. I'll go try it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess that about does it for early access. Yeah. It's interesting. It's cool. It's still young, and I will see how it develops over time. See what good things come of it. We already know the bad things. The bad things are you don't get it or you get bad shit. The good things are, man, you basically you get to solidify your hardcore status because you were there from the get-go. And again, the ability to add feedback and hopefully have your feedback directly impact. And you're like, you know what? At the end of the day, if they didn't listen to my idea, I like the way this game is going. I've already gave them my $60. You know, I didn't have to wait the extra 2 years till it gets developed. I liked what it was. You know, they improved enough, and I got to contribute way early and play it way early. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to do it for tonight's episode. Thanks, everybody, for listening. What are your thoughts and feelings on early access? Have you had any specific experiences with it? Are there games that you right now are currently involved in with early access? You're giving money, time, feedback, any of the stuff we talked about. Have you had interest at all in early access? We'd love to hear anything you want to talk about on that subject. I promise you. What about the games we talked about earlier? Any particular games that we mentioned that you are playing and like to get some feedback on? Maybe there's games that we have talked about that you weren't interested in, but this made you go out and play it, and you found a new game that you like or enjoy, or you found critiques that we didn't. Whatever, man. We'd love to hear some good feedback from you because feedback for us is very important. It's very awesome to know that somebody out there is listening. And not just that they're listening, but, you know, they get something from it. I'm telling you, the day that I get an email from somebody saying something along the lines of, man, you know, I love RPGs. I played all the Final Fantasies. I played Dragon Warriors. I played Suikoden's, Breath of Fires. Man, I love RPGs, but I've never played a Persona game. I've never had any interest in that whole entire series. Until you and Chris could not shut up about them, and that made me go out and buy that game. And I love that game. That is so awesome. I would never had that experience without, you know, hearing you guys talk about it. That would be awesome to know, man. To have games out there that are completely unknown to somebody, and then they jump on and they have a good time. And that's part of the reason why we do what we do. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a journal for us. It's just talking. It's like talk radio for the audience, but feedback is what's important to us. We'd love to hear any feedback from you guys about today's topic, anything at all. There are many ways to get us feedback. You can find us on Facebook. Just search Facebook for End of Timecast. Might be how you found this episode right here. You can send us an email at endoftimecast@gmail.com. That's endoftimecast@gmail.com. No funny numbers in there. I promise you, not a single one. Just spell it as you heard it. You can find us on Twitter. We still have yet to be twitted. I'm sure we will someday. But yeah, that's it for tonight's episode, folks. Thank you very much for listening. We will see you here. You'll hear us in about a week. Until next time, I'm Michael.
I'm Chris.
Good night, everybody.